And good Sunday morning, Steeler Nation. John Phillips here at the North Park Lounge, Richland, and the Hilltop Event Center. Steel City Sunday returning after last week. Sorry about that, folks. Sometimes the things just don't work out. But we are live for the next 4 hours, give or take. And we're going to bring you pregame coverage of a very important football game. Really just two important football games today, maybe three if you count the NFC. You got Carolina and, of course, Tampa Bay battled in a chase for the division championship over there in the NFC South. But, of course, all eyes on Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Good morning, Ethan is King on YouTube. We did miss you, too. We appreciate you folks checking in already. You can find us live on X, Facebook, and also on our YouTube channel at Steel City Sunday, all the social media sites. It was a little slow week for me on social media, but nonetheless, we are broadcasting live from North Park Lounge, Richland. They actually have us in a little side area over here, which is kind of nice. So we are on the air, and we'll be bringing you 4 hours of coverage. Got a big show for you today. Mike Ostie in the first hour with Mike mic'd up, and then, of course, Paul Zeiss at 10 a.m. with Todd Haley, the coach. We'll have them on in the 10 o'clock hour. Of course, Zig Fracassi, our NFL insider from SiriusXM's NFL Radio, is going to be joining us as well. Brendan Howe of PGH Sports Now and the Butler Eagle. He is in Cleveland at the game. We'll get him live from Cleveland to talk. We hope to have Philly Godfather for our Consigs Picks segment today. He's a longtime legendary professional gambler. The Philly Godfather, if you're a degenerate gambler, you've probably heard his name. He does all the big shows, been doing them for decades. Hopefully we'll have him in the 11 o'clock hour. And then in the 12 o'clock hour, Jerry DePaula and John Fedko. And, of course, I'm always joined by Bill Akins, who is sitting to my immediate right. Good morning, Bill. Okay. Bill going to be joining us here in just a few seconds. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to Bill.
Good morning, John.
There he is. There
Sorry.
he is. That's
okay.
okay.
Little housekeeping. So.
Yes. Bill, of course, in addition to getting us on the air, also has to make sure that I maintain some sense of stability here because I'm always trying to do 10 different things at one time. Nonetheless, we have a big show in store for you. And yes, folks, the Steelers can make it real simple today. A victory at Cleveland, something they have not achieved since Ben Roethlisberger was here. If they can beat the Cleveland Browns today, they will win the AFC North, and next week they will be a meaningless game. A meaningless game against the Baltimore Ravens, which would be nice. I'm not going to sit here and tell you. I know some people on social media this week were like, if you're in the media, you should hope for a Steelers and Ravens game that's really important to watch. No, we don't want that. We want our veterans to have a week off. I want our guys to have a week off to get themselves prepared for what is probably going to be either Buffalo or Houston. A lot to be determined there still, okay? The division in the AFC South has not been won. And right now, the Houston Texans are the hottest team in football. Hottest team in football. They've won 8 games in a row.
Defense is phenomenal.
Their defense is just spectacular. They went to SoFi yesterday, and, man, was it the first play of the game or second play of the game? 75-yard touchdown, something like that. Long play, boom. Got another touchdown on their next possession right after that. And they held on and defeated the Chargers in a big game for wild card implications. Although right now, as of this morning, as I look at my little CBS Sports app, a little plug for them, right now the 5 seed is Buffalo, but the Texans have jumped ahead of the Chargers. They're in the 6th spot. Now, we'll see what happens with the Bills today. Right, there's definitely some shaking up that's still taking place, and there are teams most definitely playing for seeding right now, right? But we have to handle our own business, that being the Steelers, not we as in I'm part of the team, but us as fans and those of us that, are talking about the Steelers. The simple fact of the matter is that if they can go to Cleveland today and win, they will be AFC North champs. And then next week's game is relatively meaningless. You can play a lot of reserves and not have to worry about a pressure cooker game where you don't have DK Metcalf for 2 games. Let's start with the DK Metcalf suspension. We're open in the first segment here. As I mentioned, our lineup, we really start kicking things off here in about 10 minutes when Mike Ostie joins us. But I'll bring Bill in here for this to kind of get situated. Obviously, the situation in last Sunday's game where DK Metcalf and this deranged lunatic season ticket holder, goats Metcalf into essentially grabbing him, confronting him, grabbing him, and then shoving him. And that's a no-no. We don't know what was said. There was implications of potential racial slurs. That clearly has, I think, been debunked. Bad all around for DK Metcalf. 2-game suspension could have potentially voided a $40-50 million contract.
Yeah.
I mean, just bad. I mean, and that's not to, make light of what this deranged fan who had a press conference on Friday with a bunch of lawyers around him that didn't seem to help his case at all. Look, you buy the ticket, you take the ride, if you will, as somebody once famously said. And this guy definitely bought a ticket and wanted to get into it with this guy, DK Metcalf. And mission accomplished for him. But, for Metcalf, obviously bad. But it's just a terrible situation all around.
Good morning, Ethan. Thanks for the chiming in there, buddy. Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, if you're DK Metcalf, why do you even entertain that? Right? I mean, just don't even go over there.
Right. I don't right. Well, there was a failure here all around. There was quite a bit of failure all around. I mean, obviously you got to start with Metcalf, right? Yeah. The players cannot touch fans. You can't do it. Right. It's just, it doesn't end well. It doesn't end well for the players at the end of the day. There's fines, there's suspensions, there's loss of money and revenue. You could void a contract. Now, a lot of the talk was that, oh my God, the Steelers can get out of this if they want to. Well, there's cap implications if the Steelers decide to part ways with Metcalf, and it's roughly $40 million in dead money over the next 2 seasons. They're not going to part ways with DK Metcalf.
Did you hear that he had a jersey? He was holding a jersey, and I think they said that DK thought that he was wanting him to sign it, right?
No, I did not hear that.
Yeah, so that's what I had heard. I had heard that he initially had a jersey that he was holding up, and DK went over there thinking he wanted him to sign it, and then it just kind of went south from there. So
that's a wild story. That's crazy.
Yeah, Ethan said he heard that as well.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not saying that isn't the case. That's pretty wild to me. That may have actually be an actual real story. The bottom line is this: the NFL security failed, the Steelers security failed, DK Metcalf failed, and it's in those first 3 orders right there, right? Fans, where do we get the word fanatic from? From fans, right? So you have people that are going to go to games that are going to say things that that are going to be derogatory. Some are going to be really bad. In the rare cases these days, you don't really see it too much anymore where people are using racial epithets and slurs. But the fact of the matter is that fans are going to harass the opposing teams. It happens in sports, right? That's just the way it is. It's been like that for 130 years, right? It's been like that for a long time since we've been playing professional sports in America. Okay. So, keep that in mind as Nick Avocado checks in via YouTube saying, I think DK has maturity issues, AB Pickens Claypool. Look, today's modern athlete is not like the ones 30, 40, 50 years ago. They've grown up on social media, right? They've grown up on social media, and there's a lot more bravado and a lot more branding, right? The branding part of it. I'm not saying DK Metcalf is like that, right? Like Juju Smith-Schuster. He was all about his Instagram. Like, remember when they first drafted him, he was all about Instagram and TikTok and just especially Instagram and branding himself. So that's what today's athlete is. They're very braggadocious. They celebrate everything. They celebrate first downs. They celebrate a 9-yard pickup. They celebrate a tackle, right?
And it's I hate to say it, but it's NIL, name, image, and likeness has kind of created this whole thing, right? I mean, it's I don't know. It's more individuality than
Well,
team
without
effort.
a doubt, 100%.
And this is what the product of that is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No question about it. And, keep in mind that, in scenarios like this, it's always best for the athlete to just try to block it out, right? And they're pretty good at giving it to the fans, too. Yeah. Shannon Sharpe was a legend. He was notorious for, dishing it out to the fans, especially when he was getting the better of it, which was quite a bit of the time, let's be honest. He does have a gold jacket, and he has a bust of himself in Canton, Ohio. This is Steel City Sunday. I'm John Phillips. We've got Bill Akins alongside this morning. We'll be awaiting Mike Oste here in just a little bit. We'll have mic'd up to begin our show this morning. And again, pretty simple scenario today. And I like our chances of closing this game out. And, of course, you should be betting on the Browns immediately when I say something like that. I said last week they had to go into Detroit and win this game. You want to stack wins at this time of year. It is a duty if you want to carry any kind of momentum into the playoffs, okay? So today would be the statement, right? They've really been playing playoff games for the last 3 weeks. Let's just be quite honest, right? The playoffs actually started in week 13 for the Steelers, right? It started in Baltimore, right? Then they had to come home, and then they got the Monday night game against a somewhat hot Miami Dolphins team that had won 4 straight and 5 of their last 6 and were trying to, work their way back into playoff contention, and they just boat raced them. And then last week, they played even for 30 minutes, and in the second half, what happened? The running game took over. And we'll talk a little bit more about the running game as we get our guests in here. And the running game has really shaped up quite nicely. Kenny Gainwell has just been fantastic. Just easily, and I don't count Aaron Rodgers in this because he's at the end of his career. But Kenny Gainwell is by far, I know you're going to say, oh, what about DK Metcalf? Best free agent signing in the Omar Khan era. I
think so. I agree.
Best free agent signing in the Omar Khan era. I don't think DK was almost a no-brainer, but he was just a fantastic selection, right? And has worked out extremely well. Gainwell, next to Aaron Rodgers, might be the number 2 for MVP voting on this team. And that's not to take anything away from Jaylen Warren, who's had a decent season. Right. But the simple fact of the matter is that Kenny Gainwell has been a dynamic player. And that catch he made on Sunday.
It's amazing.
I mean, really, Lynn Swan.
It defied all.
Yeah. And again, keep in mind, the football has its own set of dynamics that it's dealing with being thrown. It's oblong and it's landing on this guy's hand. And it just didn't move. I watched the replay 3 or 4 times. The football literally landed in his hands like he had pillows for hands. Yep. Will Westcott checking in via Facebook. Respectfully, Myles Garrett gets the sack record today, but we get the victory, and Aaron shakes Shador's hand. I don't know why he wouldn't shake Shador's hand, but Sanders is a whole other story. We could talk about him a little bit later on. I'm not really concerned about Shador Sanders. Everybody in the media that wanted to ride his jock after that big win against a 2-win Raiders team certainly did so.
Look at that, huh?
Seek help, Karen. Seek help. My wife would advise that immediately. But thank you. I appreciate that. Just turning 56 a few weeks ago. I appreciate those sentiments. Okay. You're not here for me, Karen. Let's just be honest. You're here for my next guest, our first guest of the day. I'm so happy that he does our show each week because I have such a respect for Mike Oste, managing editor of West Virginia Sports Now, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of websites, national writer for Yardbarker, heard on Sirius XM, and man about town. Good morning, Mike. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Not a man about town too
Not
much
anymore.
with the two girls that I have keeping me prisoner almost as they enjoy Christmas. But we had a great holiday and happy belated birthday to you, I guess.
Thank you. Wait till they get to be 13 and 12, like mine are right now.
I
Okay.
cannot even imagine. I cannot even imagine.
I can't. I don't know.
I don't mentally think I'll be able to talk sports at that point. I'll be too focused on protecting them.
Well, yeah, good luck with that. I hear you. Whenever I'm in those scenarios, I think of one of my favorite photos of you is you holding that little glass, right? That side profile.
Yeah.
I think I try to project myself into that happy. That was a happy place. That looked like that photo was a happy moment. So one of those things. Anyhow,
Yeah.
Good morning to you, sir. Hope your holidays were good. Pretty simple this morning, right?
Yeah.
Win and get in.
It's simple, but it's never simple when it comes to the NFL, when it comes to, and Mike Tomlin's going to say this after the game either way. He's going to say it's never simple when it's AFC North football, that it's always, throw the records out the window when it's AFC North football. It's always tough, AFC North football. He's going to bang those drums after the game. And as I said last night, John, as the Ravens were winning and Derrick Henry was gashing the Packers to continue to solidify himself as a Hall of Famer, and people were inducting Malik Willis into the Hall of Fame, even though it didn't work out for them getting a victory, and talking about how the Steelers should have him instead of drafting Pickett years ago, etc. I said at the time that God just intends this to go down to the final week. God just wants this to be the case. God likes drama. He likes NFL drama. He's a part of the NFL churning drama every season and being the dominant league that it is. And to make that happen, the Browns would need to get this done. And it almost feels like that God wants the record today and wants a Browns win today and wants drama for the final week. Of course, logic speaks that the Steelers are a much better team. The Browns are completely a dumpster fire. And even if Garrett has 3 or 4 sacks and breaks the record, they still likely wouldn't win. And they don't win games even when he performs well. His season, unlike when Watt did it, is a complete waste. But would I be shocked if God intended for drama to occur? No.
Right. No, you're absolutely right, and by God, you probably mean Roger Goodell. You know what I mean? Like he does. He totally.
He's the God of the league. Sure,
he is the God of the league. Well, he's the God of the owners, right?
Yeah,
he's the God.
Well, he works for them, I guess. He works for them, so
does.
maybe they're the God of him in a way.
Right, absolutely, right. Yeah. And the league wants that. Of course, they want that. Yeah. Now, whether they get that or not, I don't know. And now that gambling has just been institutionalized in almost every state now. I think it's of the 50 states, I think it's 43 have some form of legalized gambling now. Mm-hmm. Of course, I chose one to live in for 4 years that does not, but probably a good thing anyhow. So the fact of the matter is that now you've got more and more people out there, the conspiracy theorists, right? I like conspiracy theory gambling Twitter myself. It's kind of like a hangout for me because I'm interested in seeing the breakdowns, and they get the little close-ups, and they think a coach is saying take a sack or take a knee or throw an interception. Like I've been down those rabbit holes the last few weeks watching some of these people, and following. It's amusing to me more or less, but I think the fact of the matter is that it isn't scripted, but you have chaos because you have bad officiating, and I think. And I think Goodell is content, and the owners are content to continue to have part-time officials because they bring that additional X factor, that other element that you're talking about in terms of eyeballs, right? Attention, right? Clicks, views, talk.
Yeah, you could argue. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of funny with the money the NFL has that really the only people involved in the National Football League on a week-to-week basis that are not full-time employees are the referees.
Right.
Ed Hockey Lee's a lawyer in the offseason. These guys have other jobs. That's no longer the case for the players. And I'm not saying they should make the millions and billions that the owners and players are making, but it is insane to think that you couldn't get Ed Hockey League on a salary. I guess the issue is they wouldn't be working that. Like, what would you be doing in the spring if you're paying him for the whole year? I'm not really advocating just throwing cash and having people not really earn it. I don't know what they would be doing in March if you paid them on a full year salary, but a lot of the players are just working out in training too. You're paying players to do nothing on certain months of the year. And maybe that is part of these referees. Not only are they as motivated as maybe they should be, number one. They've never been able to successfully argue for this for generations now, which you could argue is insane. And the other end of it is, of course, people are always going to say, and the first comment after I was talking was, is the NFL scripted? And I'm not sure if that was sarcastic or serious, because we hear it all the time. Well, this is scripted. There's even the crazy opinion, and this is even before gambling Twitter, even before gambling became really a culture, that and maybe was just kind of behind closed doors. There are even Steeler fans, and I never understood this, John, for all the years, that literally believe the NFL is a conspiracy against the Steelers. I mean, ask Browns fans going in if there's an NFL conspiracy against the Steelers. The NFL would love the Steelers to be in the Super Bowl every single season. They would love for them to have deeper playoff runs. They certainly do not hate the Steelers. And if they're picking a winner here out of the division, I'm sure they would prefer the Steelers over the Bengals, Browns, or even the Ravens to get in every year. There's more fans, there's more eyeballs. They want the Steelers. Look at the attendance at games overseas, on the road. Look at the fans. Look at the ratings. The Steelers are a small market, but the way the NFL is built, they are a marquee franchise. So there's no conspiracy against the Steelers,
right?
But yes, they also don't hate the way this is all lined up, and really the way the league is lined up, which is unique to really any other league. There's so much parity; it warrants drama all the time. It's set up now to have drama all the time, and it is a league more so than any sport, and even more so than any other football league, more so than even college football, that as bad as the Browns are and as much better the Steelers are this year, anyone can truly beat anybody on any given Sunday. We see upsets all the time. All the time. That's why if you did a college football playoff thing where you put in, say, the Browns, like an equivalent of a G5, you'd get more of those upsets in a postseason than you would what you're getting in college football when you have lower level teams in. Because there's just the disparity in the talent levels there, and anyone can win any given Sunday as well. So, again, it wouldn't surprise me if the Browns win. If the Browns win, does that mean there's a conspiracy and the league has fixed the game? No, but it's set up that way, and I do think they don't mind it. So there's not a motivation to change it, even if, especially with gambling, even if people maybe are going to argue conspiracy, because obviously no one can win that court case. There's ever going to be a time where someone's going to bet, lose the house, and then sue a casino or sue a gambling company and say the NFL game was fixed. You can't prove it.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not fixed, but they do like it this way. And someone even tweeted to me last night when I said that this just scripts up for the typical Tomlin game too, where it's not necessarily on him, but he'll have some timeouts that he'll mess up. The team's going to turn over the football a few times. You're going to see wild things occur. This could be where, I mean, really Garrett might get the record and then somehow cause a fumble, run it back. And we've seen crazier things.
No, absolutely. And I've said this for years. I mean, this type of game is where his teams fail, right? They just, you know what I mean? They do. They look. I mean, I can think of games
especially after recent weeks. They win those. They pull those games out, and then you're going to lead into losing this one.
Games where they went to Oakland and lost. Games when they went to New York and lost. Games when they've gone to Cleveland and lost. Games when they went to Cincinnati and lost. Countless games. Right. Leave timeouts on the table. Right. I like my Facebook timeline from years. I go back and I look and I'm like, I get it. You know, you get the daily updates. And I looked yesterday. I was looking at a few, like, you know, he somewhere, some game, how many years ago he left 2 before halftime. You know what I mean? Like, why? You know what I mean? Like, it's all of these scenarios that continue to creep up, and it does keep people talking for sure. We'll see if that happens today. I like where Aaron Rodgers has his mindset. He's looked real sharp. I think these guys might be taking things a little bit differently, and it took that embarrassing loss at home to Buffalo to maybe kick things into a different gear for this club.
Yeah, they've been, as much as the NFL maybe would love for this to go down to the final week, and as much as they're not scripting it, but it almost feels that way. And God maybe intends this to drive drama. No one would be surprised if the Browns pull this out in a weird way. Again, the way these teams have been playing in recent weeks, the Steelers should win this game by multiple touchdowns. They have been playing well in recent weeks. They have that win over Miami, who's now faded, and maybe I did argue at the time they were overrated, but the Steelers won it convincingly. They have the win over Baltimore, even though there was controversy at the end. And then to really have the win that was the staple win, ruined the year for Detroit, despite everything going on with DK and the fan, the Steelers to win that game convincingly. And they're outside of what happened between a player and a fan, there's no controversy to that win. Everyone knows the Steelers won that game. So to have those victories under your belt now, to be playing the way you are in recent weeks, and yes, you could argue Aaron Rodgers, outside of, say, Josh Allen and maybe Herbert, has been playing the best football in recent weeks. Is that quarterback you have the most confidence in going into the AFC lineup of the postseason? And even with TJ Watt being out, which is a whole nother conversation for the day, maybe, in terms of did you overpay him because you're winning without him and you never won a playoff game with him? And obviously you want him back, but your best football has been without him, ironically. But winning without him, the defense has been playing better. The defense has been playing their best football. Rodgers has been playing his best football. Yeah. And they've been getting enough even from the ground. Rodgers hasn't been making the mistakes. DK Metcalf, who obviously won't be playing in this game, has also, even when he was in the second half of the Lions game, he is a presence, and his presence has really been felt, even if they haven't really had that second wide receiver emerge, and that's helped the offense click. And Arthur Smith's play calling has picked it up. No one's been criticizing him for almost a month now because this offense has picked it up a little bit. We'll see if DK Metcalf's absence for a full game now coming up later today impacts how this offense can move. But what we've seen in recent weeks, again, they should win this convincingly. They've been playing the best football of anybody in the division. They've been playing the best football of anybody really fighting for their lives. And it's all in front of them. And you'd rather play well now than play well earlier in the season, even though you didn't want to lose those games. So, again, it's on the board for them to get in. It's on the board for them to take advantage of a weak division this year. And it's on the board for them to finally win a playoff game for the first time since the 2016 season. Doesn't mean it's a guarantee to happen, but that's what should occur. But again, crazier things have happened, and you know immediately what the fans are going to say outside of this game is scripted and the NFL wants drama. If the Steelers lose this game and the offense does not click like it's been, they're then going to connect it to the DK Metcalf suspension and say that him not being out there is why we got this, and connect it all to that, because regardless of his numbers, him being there is an impact and a presence, and him not being there could really make this team easier to scheme, even though the Browns normally rely on Garrett, not the secondary. But Rodgers is going to need to have a quick release in this game, and there's going to be, fewer options that are going to be open, you'd imagine.
We've got Mike Osti joining us. He's our Ricky Henderson leading off our show this morning here on Steel City Sunday.
What a comparison, Hall of Fame.
How about that, right?
Yeah,
Ricky was the best. He was the best. By the way, our show brought to us in part by Arch Masonry and Restoration, one of our great sponsors. They've been with us since the very beginning of the show. Arch Masonry and Restoration, hiring brick masons. I just got 2 of them hired to start this week, for crying out loud. I got a concrete finisher ready to start work after the first of the year. That's right. If you're in the building trades and you are somebody that's sitting on the sidelines right now, Arch is looking to talk to you. 412-564-5733, archmasonryinc.com. No experience, no problem. They have programs that will get your career jump-started. You can learn on the job, archmasonryinc.com. Mike Osti joining us, managing editor of West Virginia Sports Now, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of websites, and, of course, national writer for Yardbarker. We've got, let's see here, we've got Mike Avocado saying, I want Rodgers back for one more season. I'd sign up for it, Mike. I'd sign up for one more year.
Yeah, no, I would sign up for it, and it is funny because that's the question that fans ask all the time. I was literally at our company Christmas party, and that was the question that we all within the company and in media and colleagues that were there, we're all talking about the most, and there's a lot more to discuss in Pittsburgh, in the Pittsburgh sports world, but that was the biggest conversation. And I think there's 2 reasons. Number one, he's playing well. He's playing well down the stretch. He does not look like he's a 42-year-old quarterback. He looks like he's been better than he's been in years. He certainly looks like he's motivated. He looks like he's having fun. He looks like he loves being out there. He looks like he loves being a Steeler. Obviously, the conversation we talked about a couple weeks ago, and we've all been discussing on shows Mike Tomlin's future. Well, they've done enough, barring collapsing to Cleveland and getting blown out in the playoffs. They've certainly done enough that he's going to come back. And even then, even if that happens, he's going to come back. He's going to be back for another season. He doesn't want to walk away. They're never going to fire him. So as long as Tomlin's back, I think Aaron Rodgers. Now, if Tomlin was not and they somehow would have lost these last several weeks and had 5 wins and he wanted to leave, then maybe Rodgers doesn't. I think he's tied to Tomlin for sure. But he likes playing for Tomlin. He loves hanging out. Him and that image of Rodgers, Cam Hayward, and Tomlin walking off the field and Tomlin pumping his chest and those guys supporting Tomlin. It feels like Rodgers has been there for a decade, even though it's been 1 year. And I wish we all could have covered him longer because he's been fun to cover. He's not been a problem. He's not been a locker room cancer. He's not really thrown anybody under the bus on shows. If you've noticed, he's barely been on the McAfee show at all. He's been different than his Jets tenure. He's been agreeing to the Steelers standard of, hey, just play football. And I think he maybe could get persuaded to do it 1 more year. And if you look in who's coming up in terms of out of college football in the draft, and who's Arch Manning's going back to school. Are you really enamored with who's going to be available? I know the draft's in Pittsburgh. They'd have to trade up to get somebody again because they've won enough games to be in the middle. I would not at all be upset if Rodgers came back for 1 more year. Even if you draft a QB, have him sit under Rodgers and then see what happens in the future. And if Rodgers gets hurt, then maybe you throw him to the fire. I don't think Will Howard's that guy. I think they should still draft somebody. But no, I think Rodgers 1 more year, not 2, not 3, but 1 more year would be a good plan. Do I know it's going to happen for sure? No. The only issue, John, is you have to think if you're the Steelers, and even if Rodgers clearly he was always going to play somewhere, and the Steelers became the only option after a while. We all knew that. He didn't want to show up and do be near the rookies during their mini camp. He didn't want to show up during any voluntary situation. He came late. It was fine, and he was able to mature into the offense, even showing up late. Is that cool with you again? Because there are people that do say within the Steelers that we've all heard that isn't something they necessarily would want to do again. They maybe would like him to show up earlier. Maybe there'd be an ultimatum. They might sit him down and say, we love you again, but we're not going to have the decision come in August. I do think that maybe would convince him to, I don't want to do I want to do August.
Right.
So are you okay with that? Where is his head? Is going out on this note, even if you do lose a playoff game, good enough for him? Because it's way better than his Jets tenure. He's proved something a little bit. He's clearly a Hall of Famer already. I don't know where his head is. Nobody really knows what's in his head. He doesn't want you there. But I think it definitely wouldn't be a bad decision. And it'll be interesting what they would be interested in if they sit him down and what they would offer him. And if they do want him to show up earlier, if he'd be cool with that. Again, I think it's a good plan no matter who you draft, but I wouldn't be shocked if he says, I'm done. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back 1 more year. I certainly would be surprised if it's more than another 1 year thing. I don't think it'll be too long of a tenure, of course, at his age, but Brady was playing to 45. He looks healthy now. He's having fun. So why not? And again, in terms of who's going to be your quarterback next year, we joked Malik Willis opening up the show here. I mean, are you bringing in Malik Willis, who now has some value? Or are you looking for Kirk Cousins, who wants out of Atlanta to play longer, who's shown something still at his age? Are you drafting somebody? Is it that guy? Or is it Aaron Rodgers? Rodgers at 42 and then 43 looks to be still the best option for 1 more season.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, no, I think he's I think he's comfortable here. I mean, when you look at everything that went on with him and the Jets, I mean, for crying out loud, Robert Saleh was escorted out of the freaking building when there was a lot of so-called I guess butting of the heads between him and Saleh. It was allegedly, but I think he's in a lot better place. You talk about Mike Tomlin. He said that was the whole reason why he came to Pittsburgh, was he wanted to play for Tomlin. Mm-hmm. I think if I don't want to say that, if they win a playoff game this year, maybe don't make it all the way, but at least they win a playoff game this year, I think there's a good chance he comes back. I really do.
But do you think that it depends at all? That if they would lose this game and crater out and it gets really bad with the fan perception, that Rodgers says, I played well, but now it's getting toxic again, so I'm bowing out?
I do. Actually, I do.
Because he does appear a little annoyed when it gets toxic. Like it almost
Well-
appears a little bit, as comfortable as he is and everything you said there is accurate. It does appear a little bit. As much as he was aware of what went on in Pittsburgh for Mike McCarthy and others, it does sometimes appear that he's a little surprised when fans were chanting Tomlin. It almost comes off when he has those interviews of, man, it's weird this fan base hates this guy so much. It's weird that the fans are like this. Like it almost not, it almost feels like he's a little surprised a little bit, and that annoys him. Like it almost, if he could picture a perfect Pittsburgh scenario, that part, the fan base maybe some of the loud minority maybe or become majority with Tomlin's season this year, that would go away. So I don't know if he'd want to do that again if they would like lose out or get blown out in a playoff game, but they could win the division and still get blown out in a playoff game. I mean, they could line up there, they're playing the Texans, and that seems to be a horrible matchup to me.
It's all of them are. Because they've lost to the Bills and the Chargers. You know what I mean?
The Chargers are probably the best of the bunch, but
maybe
there's a matchup.
But right now, the Chargers are sitting in the 7th spot.
Yeah,
right.
No,
Steelers are locked into the 4. It's either 4 or nothing.
Yeah,
right. It's either 4 or nothing, and they've lost to the other two teams. And this the current team that's waiting to see what the Bills do. Right, they could possibly jump. I don't know what how that all works out just yet because. Buffalo has a game today. I think at 1:00.
I just think that Texans defense could send him into retirement.
Eagles.
Yeah.
If the Texans sack him 4 or 5 times with still a weak offensive line, and they lose, and then the fans are chanting "Fire Tomlin," I think then Rodgers is like, I'm out.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
it's a very thin line. It's a very thin line.
But I think in terms of the team, there's a chance that regardless of what happens, if you think of every other option they maybe would have. The Steelers maybe would sit him down and say, oh, we lost bad or we blew it, or even if they won and don't go anywhere else, we'd love to do one more year. I think in the Steelers' mind, kind of what even people have been saying and what I've been hearing, they already are getting kind of comfortable with the scenario, maybe convincing him for one more year. But a lot of it is what would he want to do? What is the reality of the situation? And in all reality, the fans, I'm sure, would get upset if they get blown out the next week. If they win a playoff game and that's all they do, that makes this year a tremendous success since they haven't done it in almost a decade. And that's a lot of vindication for Tomlin and Rodgers that would probably buy them, getting fans off their back for a minute. So, because remember, we also have to see how Rodgers plays in the playoffs. There's a narrative around him too. Despite being a Hall of Famer and all the MVPs and having a ring, his narrative around Packer fans was that he's a legend. He's maybe the best player in their franchise history, but also kind of like Favre, he would have playoff mistakes that even more so than Favre, who would have great games and then throw a pick at the end. Rodgers would just flat out play. Yeah, but I mean, Rodgers would do worse. He would flat out just play poorly the whole game against the Niners, who owned him. So if that ends up happening again, then the national conversation is going to be that he's a great all-time quarterback, maybe top 5, top 10 ever, but not an all-time playoff clutch player. And does that he probably really needs to play well in the playoffs and to get a win to get that off his back. His recent playoff games with Green Bay were rough. Not only
they were
team,
bad
but for him.
They were bad.
Well. Yeah.
I want to say a couple things here real quick. First off, the fans would not be as angry as they would if for not the last 8 seasons of horrific playoff football. Sure. Okay, let's just start right there, right? Yeah. It starts with the Jacksonville game, and it matriculates its way through to blowout losses to Buffalo, at home in the COVID year to Cleveland, obviously at the end of right, and then getting slaughtered last year in Baltimore. They did get a 7-0 lead into the second quarter against Kansas City, and then the Chiefs just wiped them out. And they played against the dynasty there. Okay, so that was maybe the lone competitive game. That's the problem with Tomlin, is that they haven't had. Look, this is season 19, and in the 18 previous, he's only won a playoff game in 4 seasons that he's gotten there. 4 of 9.
Yeah, and then obviously the Super Bowl appearances, so that took him a lot of those playoff wins are in those years. Yeah, right.
The vast majority of them were in the first 4 years when he was handed a Super Bowl roster. People don't want to talk about that. They don't want to. They ignore it or they conveniently shove it to the side. He had 12 starters from the 2005 Super Bowl winning team on his roster when they won in Super Bowl 43. These are just simple facts. He was hired from Minnesota after 1 year as a defensive coordinator. What did he do with that defense? He improved them by 17 yards a game They gave up 17 less yards a game.
Yeah.
They took him from 19 to 13. Okay,
Yeah.
he was a Rooney Rule hire. The old man hired him,
Yeah.
and he gave him a roster that he could win with. And to his credit, he did. He had Bruce Arians. He had Dick LeBeau. Right? He had a great setup.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I talked to Russ Grimm about it because at the time,
And
Mike
Grimm
Tomlin
as
was
well. Sorry, thank you.
but I mean, Mike Tomlin was a surprise hire.
Right.
No
Absolutely.
one in Pittsburgh media or fans was predicting Mike Tomlin being hired at that point. I mean, I was a kid and more of a fan at the time, but he was a surprise hire. No one in Pittsburgh, probably casual fans, hadn't even heard of him before.
Was it Dulac that said that he was getting a job? Somebody
Grimm at the time.
Right. Yeah. So what I'm saying, one of the
Grimm,
writers
I know for sure. Grimm is to this day upset that he didn't get the job. I mean,
but it was actually reported on that he was getting the job.
Yeah, people thought he was getting the job. Yeah, people thought he was getting the job again. And the Rooneys always have said, and the narrative is that Tomlin has even discussed on the Pivot and other shows with Ryan Clark, that he blew them away in the interview. And it just blew them out, blew their socks off in the interview. Right. But in all reality, regardless of what got him the job, they obviously weren't going to hire somebody they thought was going to lose, even if you can argue what got him in the door. Right. And they were able to win. And if you take rings away or success away from inheriting a roster, then you're not just doing it to Tomlin. You're certainly doing it to a lot of other coaches around pro sports that are in the Hall of Fame. I mean, Tomlin's overall resume with the Super Bowl title, with the other appearance, with all the winning seasons, even if it annoys fans, and the division titles and all the wins he's had and what he's even done for the league. And let's face it, also his success is arguably the greatest African-American coach in the history of the sport. And you could argue him over Dungy at this point based on resume. Dungy being in, for example, Cowher being in, other coaches with a similar resume being in. Tomlin, if he retired tomorrow, is going to walk into Canton as a Hall of Famer. There's no way to deny it.
Oh, and first ballot,
and he really does at this point, because Dungy's in and others are in. If you want to have a tougher Hall of Fame that's harder to get into, sure, I would be a fan of it. That's not the case. Based on the president has been set, he's going to get in. And I mean, you could even argue that maybe John Harbaugh deserves to be in for the other end of that spectrum here in this conversation.
He is.
Because it's similar.
Two birds of a feather. Absolutely.
Yeah, right. So he's going to get in. And I've argued before that I would have been fine with doing an Andy Reid thing in parting ways years ago, because I'm just kind of tired of the same old story. And any other franchise probably would have fired him, but they're never going to do that. But he's going to definitely get in. It doesn't mean that he's a perfect coach. It doesn't mean anything. The in-game decisions are maybe not what got him in the Hall of Fame. What gets him into the Hall of Fame, in addition to the roster that he inherited and then elevating it, which is part of it, is he is such a player's coach and so well liked. All of his past players, even the ones he had maybe poor history with, his past coaches, listen to what Todd Haley says on these shows and said on my shows. And obviously he had a rough parting of ways at the time. They just all sing Tomlin's praises. Tomlin is very well liked by people that he's worked with, and he's going to have a contingent in Canton whenever he's inducted that is going to pack the house. They're going to need multiple rows. It's going to be wild down there. So that is just part of it too. I mean, coaches that maybe are great X's and O's, but everyone hates them and no one wants to play for them, is tough to get players. So that's all part of the Tomlin story that we could talk about for hours. But it'll be interesting if they blow this, if it ends up being a poor season, if they don't win a playoff game, because this season is now going to be evaluated on, based on the start, based on all the injuries for the Ravens, Lamar Jackson being out, Derrick Henry being almost 40 years old and gashing the Packers, the Joe Burrow injury, the Browns are a mess.
Right.
If the Steelers do not win the division, it is a colossal failure. And depending on the matchup, you certainly want to win a playoff game and get that off the snide at some point. Certainly, you don't want to go into the Hall of Fame still having not won a playoff game for 10, 11, 12 years or whatever it'll be at that point. So a lot on the line here. And again, fans will say the league's scripted. Fans will say the DK suspension is why. But at the end of the day, John, you're facing a Browns team that is just hot garbage. You're facing a Browns team that is trash. You're facing a Browns team that has a rookie quarterback who, yes, is in the conversation every week on these national shows, but has not really played all that well. Shedeur Sanders is not impressing anybody at all. Like, who knows what they're going to do. If I'm them, I would still look at maybe another quarterback for the future. So they have a lot of problems. They might even have an offseason where Myles Garrett asks out, even though he just signed a big contract last offseason. So they're a mess down there in Cleveland. And if you lose to them, and then you lose to the Ravens, and you don't get in after you had a 4-game lead earlier in the season, and you have fewer injuries. Yeah, you have TJ Watt out, John, but no Steelers fan can win that argument with anybody else in the division. The Bengals didn't have Burrow half the year. The Browns have nobody in injuries. The Ravens haven't had Lamar Jackson most of the year. You can't use that excuse. So you got to get the win. I don't care if it's by 1 point on a game-winning field goal. You got to somehow win this game. And if you don't, then it looks really, really bad, and every criticism is valid. But again, the Browns are so bad that they still should win. This is all for them because Lamar Jackson may not play the rest of this season too.
We're going to keep Mike for a few more minutes. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, and the Browns want to play spoiler.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is they love that.
They think they can too. I already got a text from a colleague today who actually is a Browns fan who also covers the Mountaineers. And he literally said, it's always tough games between the Browns and Steelers. We're going to do it today. And it is. That is true.
It is. They have one since Ben retired. So that's and 1-5-1, I think, in their last 6 in Cleveland.
I don't know whether this is true, but I looked it up. 4-6 in the last 10 games in Cleveland.
Okay. Even going back to with Ben.
Yeah.
There's got to be a tie in there somewhere. Maybe it was prior to 2019. Okay. So they have not played well in Cleveland, right? Yeah. They have not played well. No question.
You remember last year in the snow? I mean,
yeah, right. Well, the Thursday night game, if I remember correct. I think it was a Thursday night game.
They got beat by freaking Jameis Winston.
I do recall. Yeah, 100%. At least you don't have the snow issue, I guess, for the Steelers. Even maybe they would like that, but they don't have. Jerome Bettis isn't walking through that door. So, and the fans you mentioned Bill too. The Cleveland Browns fans are out on the year. They're very upset as they are every year. They're very polarized in Shedeur Sanders. If you want to talk about toxic fans, they're toxic fans in Cleveland. However, and this happens every year, when they have the game where they can spoil the Steelers at the end of the season, they all come together, and it's going to be a rocking house there, even though the season means nothing. So it is their Super Bowl. They're going to act like that. And then Myles Garrett, who's all upset, he's going to go into that game trying to do it. He's going to try to get 4 sacks, and it would be hard to imagine this man doesn't end up with the record. Would it need one full one, I believe, to have it in 2 games? He'd love to do it in this one, I'm sure. So, again, a lot of pressures on the Steelers' offensive line, which is really risky to put a lot of pressure on them, of course. A lot of pressures on the Steelers' ground game, which is really risky to put a lot of pressure on them. And a lot of pressure on the wide receiver depth without DK Metcalf being there to be able to have somebody else open up space. And the second early in this game, another receiver emerges and catches a couple passes, he's going to get double covered because there's not depth there. So and if that happens without DK, maybe this is a game where the tight ends really emerge. Maybe this is a game where you use both tight ends and you see Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith, and maybe that's the type of scenario here. But again, this is not going to be easy at all. I mean, you don't want to face a rivalry game that would love to defeat you and ruin your year in a must-win scenario, which is what's going on.
Couple quick comments off of YouTube, real quick, from Mike Avocado. Would you be interested in Malik Willis? Not, I don't know, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
not really, but probably not.
And I know we could have won the division last night, but I wasn't too confident in that because Malik Willis had the shoulder injury. He's still. I mean, you saw it.
Yeah.
I mean,
he played well. 100%.
Yeah. He was coming. They said he was. He just had the flu this week.
The flu game for him. They didn't win, but there was a Jordan flu game.
Obviously Michael Parsons not there, but I was like, don't count on them.
The Packers, if they had Parsons, I maybe could see them making a run. But with or without him this year, they've been very vulnerable. They lost to the friggin' Browns that we're talking about. Right. Nothing surprised me there. And on the Willis front, I'll just quickly say, a lot of this for me depends on what Rodgers' decision is. And this is why I do think they're going to tell Rodgers. I do believe they're going to tell Rodgers, hey, we probably would do one more year with you regardless of this finish of the season. I think they have seen enough they would do one more year, but I do think they're going to sit him down and say, you cannot wait till August to make the decision. You got to have that decision earlier. So if he gives them a decision of a green light, then maybe they just draft somebody and go with Rodgers. If he says no or I need to wait, I wouldn't be shocked if you see Malik Willis, but I think Willis will be the same story as Justin Fields was. It'll be very similar.
I can guarantee you they've already started having this conversation with him.
100%.
Number one.
They might know the answer already. They may know already.
I was just about ready to say they probably have some sort of framework, right? He and Tomlin. I'm just talking about him, Tomlin, and maybe Khan in this conversation, right? Like 100%. The three of them sitting down saying, hey, especially after the last 3 weeks.
Okay? I would imagine, 100%.
After the last 3 weeks, because going back to the loss against Buffalo, Rodgers was pretty critical, right? He was critical of Jonnu Smith.
Yeah.
He said that we did not practice well, right? I mean,
he flirted with Jets Rodgers. He flirted a little bit with Jets Rodgers.
Right. And to Rodgers' credit, and we've talked about a lot here in the last half hour. The fact of the matter is that he did not bring the circus that he had in New York 2 years ago, right? He has not been on the McAfee show. He's not talking about ayahuasca. He's not talking about whatever he had been doing.
His vaccine opinions, correct.
Right. All of right, exactly. He has not brought any of that here. It has been more so about the football than anything else. And look, from the first game, he was our best. He's been our best player. He's been our MVP. Without question.
I even think of what you're saying after the Bills game, where he kind of maybe you could argue threw some players under the bus and blame them a little bit. I know fans were saying, "Oh, we're getting the old Rodgers again." I think secretly the leaders of the team, the Cam Haywards, the Mike Tomlins, even Khan and management, and even the Rooneys, they don't want to hear about the vaccine. They don't want to hear about him on McAfee. They don't want to hear about all the drama from the Jets or him being the GM of the team. But they probably like that presser. They probably secretly like, okay, we want you to be the leader of the football team.
Accountability.
What you're doing.
He's holding people accountable.
That was him being a leader of the football team.
Right. And I have no problem with that. People have a problem with that. I agree with you that people have a problem with accountability today. There's no accountability, right? I mean, look, leaders, should you be doing it in a public forum? Maybe, maybe not. You can argue that, right? Behind the scenes. But I think in situations like what happened against Buffalo, where they just got, boat raced. And again, look at the play from Jonnu Smith.
People
in Detroit last week.
Routes and they got
and you got Rodgers on a hot mic going, "What the F are you doing?" Right? Because he had no idea what he was doing on that play. You saw that. Yeah. Everybody saw that play.
Yeah.
Saw, the hot mic. So he is holding guys accountable, and that's what that position is supposed to do.
100%.
Yeah. We know he doesn't like Jonnu Smith's route running. He said it.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously he was there long enough, but of course there's going to be some that'll say that this is why you need to do a full off season. If you really want perfection from these guys, it's hard to request it when you're looking at just training camp to meet him for the first time. And yes, he worked out with Metcalf and others, but Jonnu Smith wasn't there. So he's looking for the last guy on the roster of his offense to be perfect, which is what he's always requested. And he's only there for a quarter of the offseason.
Short period of time.
So again, they maybe already have this answer. I'm sure they already have the meetings, but because of the draft, because they're really going to have pressure to win next year, certainly if they don't win a playoff game this year, because Tomlin is nearing the end of the line, even though he's not going to be fired. He won't be another 10 years there. I'm sure they're going to tell Rodgers, we are not going to be able to do where you only show up into the summer and there's rumors of you wanting to go elsewhere and other teams calling you.
Right.
You maybe go into a dark retreat. No, we need you locked in for one full more year and then go ahead and retire. And maybe he doesn't want to commit to that. And if he doesn't want to commit to that at his age, with already a Hall of Fame career and a ring on his finger, I can't fault him for that either. That's a tough trek. No one really committed to all that. Favre didn't do that at the end. He did half an off season. So did Brady mostly. So maybe he'll want to fully commit. But they really need the Brady thing where you're in so much that your family's upset and you're going to have a divorce. Like that's what they need, the commitment for one more year. Will Rodgers be able to give that to him? I don't know. But they probably, as you're saying, already know these answers, and then they're going to meet again after the playoff game or after the season, have another answer, and probably go with that answer and take it as gold and just assume he's not going to change his mind and screw him months later. But I think he's liking and having fun. But, yeah, if it was still the rest of the year like the Buffalo game and they were losing all these games, I think then he would, peace out too. But we'll see what happens here these final weeks. But a lot of this is on how the rest of the team plays with him. He's going to need everyone to step up at his age, and it won't be easier, again, without DK Metcalf there. Forget his production. His presence is still a big deal, even when he wasn't catching passes.
Yeah, huge deal. All right, we've kept you way longer than we probably should have. I appreciate you coming on board early and leading off, Ricky. I mean, I'm sorry, Mike. Anyhow, quick prediction. How does this game? I'm gonna get you a nice A's athletics white with the Henderson on the back.
Yeah. Well, I'll do athletics Henderson, not Yankees Henderson. So
no.
Yeah. People maybe you'll get annoyed.
You need to speak in the third person though. I heard Ricky Henderson did that all the time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Ricky.
Yeah. So Mike Osti feels that it's going to be one of those typical, because God intends it, I'm going to predict chaos. I'm going to go to drama.
Okay.
I'm not saying that they're going to lay it down with 4 fumbles and 5 picks or anything insane, but I am going to say the pass rush of the Browns will click enough that Garrett will get the sack record in this game. The Steelers will struggle on the ground. The fans will be rocking there in Cleveland. Cleveland will rock today. And that somehow, some way, because the Steelers were playing so well recently, they're bound to have this letdown. We're bound to have that last game really, really matter. And God intends it for this to be this way, that the Browns are somehow going to do this. I am somehow going to say the Browns are going to do this. I'm going to give it to Cleveland, maybe even a game-winning field goal, a 24-23 type of situation here. Maybe Garrett gets a couple sacks to add one for good measure. He'll certainly get the record, if not this week, next. But thank you, by the way, Mike. Thank you for saying thank you, Mike. We love you. Appreciate it, Nick. I don't know if everybody does, so I appreciate the fan there. But I'm going to say the Browns do this. Again, Wisdom says the Steelers should dominate this game. They're a much better team. I'm going to say the Browns do this. And as weird as this is, maybe if the Steelers hadn't won in recent weeks, hadn't beat the Lions, maybe I'd feel like, okay, the Steelers are going to pull this one out and going to do this, and this would be the game where the team comes together. But they won those, and this just feels like the letdown game. They always have them at the end. This feels like the letdown game for me.
Well, you're not wrong.
And it feels like they can never make it easy for themselves either.
Right.
Like, it's just,
Maybe it's different this time, Mike. Maybe
it's different. I'll say this as my last parting words. Okay. If the Steelers dominate the Browns and win this game big, then I think regardless of what happens around the league, because obviously then, they're winning the division, then I think they're going to beat the Ravens handily as well. And then I think it's really on the board to win a playoff game. I think then they're really going to be feeling themselves, and you're going to see a team that's going to click, and they're going to do it for a couple weeks. I do not think they're making a championship game appearance or run. I think the wild card, the first round win will be it, but they're going to have that home game. But if they keep winning and they win this game and get off the snide, this is a real telltale story to the rest of the year. If they win this game big and they shut up Cleveland, and regardless of Garrett having the record, they win like they should because they're a way better roster and team, then I think they win the rest. They maybe win a playoff game, maybe depending on the matchup outside of maybe the Texans matchup. Maybe they even beat them, and then that's probably it. But if they lose this, which is certainly in play, then I think we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
next few weeks, and it's all on the board to be a really dramatic offseason for sure.
I know the league would certainly root for a loss by the Steelers today because they won a marquee matchup for Sunday Night Football. And the one they're banking on is Steelers and Ravens. They're banking on it because everything that they needed so far through the course of the week hasn't happened for them.
And then miraculously, Lamar Jackson's playing too. Then he's going to play. Then he'll be playing in that game. Of course, if not, he'll be shut down.
It'll all line up. I'm sure
it'll all line up. Derrick Henry. I mean, can you imagine trying to stop Derrick Henry if that's a must-win game based on what we just saw from him?
Well, with Derek Harmon, you got a little bit more of a chance, but it's still not an easy lift for sure. Mike Osti, managing editor of West Virginia Sports Now, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of websites, national writer for Yard Barker, and heard on Sirius XM. Mike, thank you, sir.
Yeah, man. Have a good rest of your show and morning. Right. And the NFL has to love even the intrigue, at least going into this one. Has to just love it. They're soaking it up for sure.
Fair enough. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, Mike Osti joining us here on Steel City Sunday, and we are live at the North Park Lounge, Richland Hilltop Event Center. People starting to file into the restaurant this morning. Glad you could be joining us here on Facebook and YouTube, and of course on X. We're getting some comments rolling in via X. Let's see here. We got a Jason Word checking in here. Appreciate you guys. Question: everyone's talking about Cook which he deserves, but I'm excited about Samuel Jr. He's only 26, and if he's what he was for the Chargers, could really solidify the cornerback position. It's been a rotation. That whole secondary, Jason, has been it's just been like a revolving door all season long, right? I mean, injuries and poor performance, and call it whatever you want. Look at the wide receiver. You could say something about, bringing in Adam Thielen and Marquez Valdes-Scantling, right? They've had to do what a lot of teams do through the course of a season, and that's find treasure where the trash is. We'll see how, some of these players turn out. I don't know how much passing, how much the passing attack of the Browns really scares me. I'm not concerned about Shedeur Sanders very much, to be quite honest with you. This game's going to probably be a slugfest. It probably would be an ugly game. I don't expect Sanders to throw for more than 200 yards today, which wouldn't be bad for him. But, he's just, there's a reason why. And I don't care what people say. He was a 5th-round pick for a reason, okay? He didn't go in – people that thought he was going in the 1st round or even the 2nd round, and when he started dropping in the draft, I mean, he doesn't have the dynamic speed that the young quarterbacks have these days, right? He had a Heisman Trophy winner to throw to in college who made tremendous plays. I was not –
He got sacked a ton in college.
Yeah, and he got taken down quite a bit, absolutely.
I think it was 48 times his last year at Colorado.
Got another comment coming in here. I'm not sure where that's coming from, but it says, so hopefully I addressed your question there. Best in-season signing. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. Best in-season signing coming in from one of our pages somewhere. I don't know where it was, but that's a good question. Maybe MVS? I don't know. I don't know if it's anybody in the secondary. That's a fair question.
Yeah, I mean that's.
I'd have to. I don't have a list of all of the off-season signings that they've had. Nobody stands out. Let's just put it to you that way.
Yeah.
Let me just say that right now.
I mean, Thielen's been, he's been all right.
He's only had a handful of catches. Stanley had the one touchdown. I mean, good question, but I don't know if anybody really stands out. But we appreciate. Duggar says Jason Ward. He says that's the best in-season signing. It's very possible. All right, we are Steel City Sunday live from the North Park Lounge, Richland Hilltop Event Center. I'm John Phillips alongside Bill Akins. We're waiting for Paul Zeiss to join us for his weekly stop. And, of course, Paul, busy man. And we're always excited to talk to Paul. It's nice to be able to work with these people that I have worked with in the past. And just kind of excited to just, continue on here with this show. We will not have a post game, by the way, today. I got to make the drive to Dayton, Ohio and back to take my sister-in-law back home. So no post game this week. But we will have shows on Monday and Tuesday live at 7 o'clock. Pittsburgh Sports Tonight. I do an hour a night now, 2 nights a week here on the channel. And happy to be able to talk sports again, a little bit of sports, not always, obviously Steelers heavy, but we get into some other topics as well. After the new year comes to be, I will start doing guests on Tuesdays. We'll probably just keep the hour up to myself on Mondays. But Pittsburgh Sports Tonight, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, we'll be on the air. And Monday and Tuesday, we'll have live shows. We'll do an hour each night. Hopefully you can stop by and join us for that. In the meantime, we are also sponsored by Arch Masonry and Restoration. Folks, let me just tell you a little bit about Arch Masonry. I've worked with them for over a decade. They are hiring at this time of year. They are hiring concrete finishers. They are hiring brick masons. If you know somebody in the building trades that is not working and wants to work during the wintertime, they can call Arch Masonry at 412-564-5733 or visit their website at archmasonryinc.com. If you have no experience and you're looking to get into a building trades career, Arch can train you on the job. They have programs that will jumpstart a career for you. 412-564-5733. Or visit archmasonryinc.com as we await Paul Zeiss's arrival here in just a few minutes. John Phillips alongside Bill Akins. We are talking about the Steelers and Browns today. Nice little crowd of you already joining us here on our various platforms. social media sites. What's the plan for the offseason? Will you be covering free agency and the draft? Nick, I'm going to continue to do shows on Mondays and Tuesdays myself. Bill Akins has a show on Wednesdays called the Pittsburgh Sports Desk. He runs that at 8 o'clock on Wednesday nights. You can watch it right here on our X channel. You can also watch it on our YouTube channel and Facebook. So Wednesdays we'll have that show, and then Thursdays you'll continue the Gridiron show on Thursdays, will you not? Yeah. So we'll be doing shows through the course of the off season. I have a day job, Nick, and that day job is very time consuming, and I'm 12 years into a construction career, and I'm about to have a 2026, barring the world burning to the ground. My company did $30 million this year. I'll probably do $30 million on my own if I don't do more. I might be able to put a 1 in front of that number. I have some big jobs that I'm just waiting to be told. I have one in January where it's in Texas. I'm going to hire 100 people to work for 6 months. It's like $20 million worth of work. So my day job is very time consuming. Now, with that said, we want to do a lot more. I want to expand the programming that we're doing. Now, what does that come to? You got to have money, advertising. So I got a plan in place, Nick. We're going to continue to do shows. We will continue to add programming, but that's going to require some more advertising. But I've got a plan in place. Once the season's over, I've got meetings set up with a few different outfits, and we're going to start working towards 2026. So, I would like us to have, big coverage in April of the draft. We'll have more to that as we get through the course of the season. All right. By the way, Paul, we'll bring Paul in just a second. Paul, give me just a minute here. A friend of mine, somebody who lives down in Fayette County, his name is Dutch Wido, used to do some radio on WMBS, probably one of the sharpest people I've ever met in terms of knowledge of sports gambling, was in a pretty bad car accident over the Christmas break. He's in a hospital right now trying to recover. Want to send prayers and thoughts to Dutch, who broke his neck in 3 different places. So, Dutch, if you're watching, we're thinking about you, and we hope you can recover quickly. All right, let's get to Paul Zeiss. The man needs no further introduction. You can, of course, read his columns in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. He's on 105.9 The X from time to time with filling in for Mark Madden. Good morning, sir. How are you from I love the tree in the background there.
The best I could do is try to find a place, where I at least had a little bit of a background that wasn't obnoxious, given, it's the season where your entire house gets torn up because of all of the, nonsense that goes on at holidays.
Yeah, I hear you there. My basement's a wreck right now, and that's exactly what it is because of the holiday season. All right, good morning, Paul. Well, here we are. Win and you get in, but it's never that easy, and they have not played well in Cleveland in the last few seasons. I guess let's get your initial thoughts on last night's Baltimore win and what your initial thoughts are of today's Steelers-Browns matchup.
If I was a Ravens fan, I would be so annoyed by last night's game because it seems pretty obvious to anybody with a brain that if they played the way they played last night offensively, meaning they featured number 22, they didn't take him out in the last 8 to 10 minutes of the game. They didn't decide that, their quarterback, who is a little bit of a limited thrower, and I'm talking about Lamar Jackson, that, let's try and feature him or something, whatever they were trying to do. They basically played almost like, 1970s football, and they basically just were able to control the game, ran the ball down their throats. You watched all of their power running formations, and you know what? Even though they've got some weak links on their offensive line, they were able to double team guys. They were able to, create, and they were able just to run Derrick Henry. And here's the other thing, and I think this is the thing that probably people have missed the most about this Ravens team. Lamar Jackson has never been, or has not been 100% healthy for a long time. the quarterback runs of Tyra Huntley, whatever his first name is. Snoop Huntley, isn't that what they call him?
Yes, right. Yes, they do.
The quarterback runs that he had, the plays he made with his legs, that offense has really severely missed. So if for some reason the Steelers were to lose today and next week meant something, if Lamar Jackson isn't 100% and can run and move and all the other stuff, I would play Huntley if I was the Ravens, because Lamar Jackson, what we found out this year, when he can't run around like a maniac, he's just really not that scary of a player.
No, I mean, I think, well, yeah, you're right. I mean, if he's given some time, like any quarterback, he can certainly connect via the air. But if he's, if his wheels are not good, he is very one-dimensional. And it doesn't scare as many teams. You can definitely play a better game against him in those scenarios. And I agree with you. Playing Huntley is probably their best option. Obviously they've got to wait and see what happens today. As I said earlier with Mike, and I've kind of said this through the course of the week a few times, just in conversation with people, this is the type of game where Mike Tomlin, a Mike Tomlin team comes in maybe a little overconfident. They're obviously a 3.5-point favorite today. I don't know if the line has moved much at all. I really haven't checked the lines this morning just because we were a little busy getting set up in this alternative spot that we're in for the first time here at the restaurant. But this is a type of spot where Mike Tomlin teams fall. You're right. They stumble, turnovers, poor execution, fundamentally just not sound, and they lose a game of this nature. I want to say that I feel a little bit different given how they've rallied the past 3 weeks, but I'm curious as to how you feel. And again, I've cited, I don't know how many times they went to Oakland and lost on the road before the Raiders moved. They went to New York. They went to Cleveland. They've gone to Cincinnati. They've done this time and again through Tomlin's tenure in the last 10, 15 years, where they've just gone on the road somewhere as a sizable favorite against a sub 500 team and have lost outright.
Yeah, I think one of the things, if you look at what they've done this year, they have actually beaten the bad teams they've played.
They have. Yep, they have.
For the most part. I mean, if you think about it, they have a loss to the Bengals, but I mean, that was like Joe Flacco went crazy, and I think the Bengals are actually a reasonably good bad team, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, John, they have 6 losses. They're actually 1-5 against playoff teams.
Yes.
So to me, they're beating the teams they're supposed to beat. I mean, for the most part. And here's the other thing I'll tell you. And I think this is, it may be simplifying it too much, but I have what I would call utmost faith in Shedeur Sanders. And that's a nice way of saying I don't believe that he can beat the Steelers. I just don't. You want to tell me that, the Steelers, play like Pitt did yesterday and have 5 or 6 turnovers and just look horrible and, whatever. And maybe I guess they could lose the game, but I just don't see that happening. And I don't see Shedeur Sanders making enough plays to beat them. I just don't.
I agree with you. I'm not. I firmly am in the camp that he was drafted where he should have been drafted. There was a lot of hype around him, given his father, given the fact that Travis Huntley was a Heisman Trophy winner and a pretty good athlete that he played alongside of. Everybody wanted to sing his praises in a win against a 2-win Raiders team, where he threw a side. He threw a side, it was almost a lateral to a running back who ran 70 yards for a touchdown, right? And everybody made it sound like he threw a 60-yard bomb, and he didn't. And that's fine. Look, it's hard enough to succeed in this league at any of these positions. It's extremely hard to succeed at that position, right? And so, Sanders brings a lot of spotlight with him, but he'll either develop and succeed, or he won't. Unfortunately, he plays for the Cleveland Browns, which is a big problem for him. That franchise is snake bit. I think we've clearly decided that. And you're right. I'm not too concerned about him beating us. I'm concerned about, potential letdown, but I don't feel that way. Because I think the quarterback that is at the helm for this team and the Steelers, I think he's helped guide them to getting more focused and being better prepared. And we've seen it clearly in the last 3 games. They have been very, very efficient on both sides of the football. They're not turning the ball over. They're forcing turnovers, and they're getting the kind of production they need at this time of year.
Yeah, and I think the big thing with that is they've started to figure out a formula that works for them on offense. And again, defensively, I think they've, figured out a few little things too about how to maximize their best players and put their best players in positions to make plays. I just feel like they're playing a really good brand of football right now. I know there's all kinds of conspiracy theorists who believe that the NFL has this set up so they lose, so that next week the Ravens game matters. I mean, that you have to go deep into your conspiracy bag for that. I mean, because honestly, at the end of the day, if they were able to do that, then I think that we probably wouldn't have a playoffs without Patrick Mahomes, right? We probably wouldn't have a playoff without. There's a couple of other guys that are Joe Burrow. There's a couple other guys that aren't going to be in the playoffs. Why wouldn't they set it up for those guys too? So I just feel like, you can go deep into these conspiracies if you want, but I don't believe for 1 second in any of them, because I think that the bottom line is it's really hard. It'd be really hard to rig games like that where you can set up what you want. And quite frankly, if you think about it, John, they've done it. If there are a script, if there is a script and all that other good stuff, right? They did a really poor job of planning it, because if the Steelers win today, I mean, there are going to be 0 AFC games that mean anything next week.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think the Lions' loss might have eliminated them to the point. Let me look real quick to make sure I'm right here. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that's left to decide in the NFC is Tampa and Carolina.
Yeah, that's right. And that can be decided today if Carolina wins and Tampa loses.
Right. So my point is they've done a really poor job, because pretty much the only 2 games that really will matter in some ways.
Seeding.
I mean, I guess,
there's
a couple for seeding, but I don't think – does anyone really care about that? I mean,
no,
I guess
nobody cares about that.
I guess if you're playing for the number 1 seed where you get the home game and the pie. But to me, I just don't think that is I don't think that is really what compels people to want to watch the games, really. So, really, if the Steelers win today, John, the only game that's win and get in would be the AFC or the NFC South, and that's assuming that that Tampa wins today.
Right.
Because if they don't and the Carolina wins, then that game doesn't mean anything. Then you're talking about an entire slate of games where not one of them has any playoff implications other than a couple of games for seeding.
Yeah, that would be a real ugly scenario, obviously, for the league to have the Sunday night football game being Carolina and Tampa. I know that they're trying to avoid that at all costs, but it could come down to that being really the lone game that has real playoff implications. And then you've got a bunch of teams that are just kind of competing for the seeding aspect of it. I will say that I'm just kind of looking at some of the schedules here. Seattle and San Francisco could possibly come down to being a game that they may want to feature. And again, that just really depends. The 49ers obviously have to win today. Seattle should have to hold serve, and we'll see how that maybe all plays out. Let's talk about the running game. We haven't really talked about Kenny Gainwell much or Jaylen Warren. Much of the success the last 3 weeks has really been predicated on the fact that they are running the football extremely well, and it's coming at the right time of year.
No question. I mean, I think they've figured out how to use those two guys to complement each other. They've done a good job of, I think, basically getting Kenneth Gainwell really ingrained in the offense as sort of the playmaker beyond just being a running back. Clearly, he's a guy who makes plays for them in a lot of ways. So to me, I think that has been a big part of their turnaround. Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell also, they complement each other well just because they're so different as players. They're different, and they're able to maybe do different things than each other, and that's how you get sort of the 1-2 punch that you have in those two guys.
Yeah, and Kenny has been by far the best free agent signing of the Omar Khan era. I think that's a fair statement. I think the DK Metcalf signing was very good, but they paid a ton of money for him in terms of just pure value. Gainwell has just been spectacular. He's got over 500 yards rushing and 400 yards receiving combined this year, and I think he's got a total of 7 touchdowns between rushing and receiving. He's been fantastic.
Been a lot better than I thought he would be.
Yeah.
One of those signings that or whatever, when they brought him here was kind of like, yeah, okay. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I mean, whatever. I guess that's what we're going to do. It's fine. And, he's slowly but surely become one of their most important players. And he's been a big part of what they do. I will say, I forgot to say this early on, but I don't think people fully realize that the game that might have actually meant more for the Steelers is probably the Chargers game against the Texans, because it's now almost guaranteed they're either going to play the Bills or the Texans,
right,
as opposed to playing the Chargers. I mean, my thought was, if you're a Steeler fan, root for the Chargers because you want to play the Chargers. You'd much rather see the Chargers with that beat-up offensive line and, Justin Herbert, who's taken 6,000 hits, and a defense that's good but not great. You'd much rather see that team come here. I'm tell you what, I don't think they want. I think honestly it's wide open. Anybody can win. Hey, the Steelers can win. I honestly don't think the Steelers want any parts of that Houston defense.
No.
You don't want to see that team in the playoffs. And obviously, I think the Bills are a very flawed team, but they've got Superman at quarterback. And I don't care what anybody says, right? There is not a single player in this league who's better than that guy that plays quarterback for the Bills. And there's not a single more important player than that guy who plays for the Bills. And, he's the kind of guy, if you get him within 14 points in the fourth quarter, you know what? Watch out, because he's coming. And so those are the two teams I said the Steelers probably want to avoid. Not that they can't beat either, because I think they can, but I think they're much tougher games, really, than playing the Chargers would have been. So to me, that game actually probably meant more to the Steelers than the Ravens game, because all the Steelers have to do really is still just beat the Browns, and it doesn't matter what the Ravens did. Now you're talking about, okay, who's the opponent? Well, I mean, the opponent, I have to look. I guess, is there some scenario maybe where Houston could overtake Jacksonville maybe?
Yes, there is. Absolutely there is.
Or maybe Jacksonville, but if I'm not mistaken, Jacksonville plays, I know next week they've got, basically, I think they have the Titans next week, Jacksonville. So I don't anticipate them losing. And today they play at the Colts. I mean, Phil Rivers is, a fun story and all that other stuff, but the Colts are a team that's not in the playoffs, and they're a little bit beat up as well. So I'm just saying, I don't know that Jacksonville's going to lose enough for the Texans to overtake them.
I don't disagree with you. Okay, we got Todd Haley backstage. We're going to bring him in, the head coach, former head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, Steelers offensive coordinator, Browns and Arizona Cardinals as well. Coach Haley, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Good morning, Paul, John. You guys hear me all right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, Coach. Absolutely. Happy holidays to you.
Yeah, happy holidays to both of you also.
Absolutely. So I guess let's talk a little bit about this offense. We'll start with Todd. I guess maybe the first question is, obviously we didn't have a show last week, unfortunately, but boy, again, just Aaron Rodgers, 40 plus pass attempts, looked good. Kenny Gainwell with maybe one of the 5 best catches I've ever seen. I mean, and there's been some pretty good catches in the league over the years, over the decades. I don't know how he came up with that football the way he did. Let's talk about the offense and what you saw last week and what impressed you most in that big win against the Detroit Lions.
Well, I think they out Detroited the Lions. Ran the heck out of the football, stopped the run. What they did against that Lions run game, I thought was tremendous. Unexpected on the road. Without TJ Watt, just a lot of good things within that game, and then unfortunately you got to get the scene on the sideline with DK Metcalf. That not a good thing, not a good look. He's not going to be there now for a couple weeks. So where do they go from here? I think that's the biggest question going into today's game.
Paul?
Well, I mean, I think Todd, earlier I said, there are a lot of people that were worried about the Browns and this game, and now it matters or whatever. And I said, and you obviously study and see these things better than me, but I said I have full faith in Shedeur Sanders that he's incapable of beating the Steelers. And so I think when I watched them play, the Browns have a hard time on offense protecting their quarterback. I don't know that they run the ball great. This would be the kind of game, if you ask me, Todd, this is the kind of game if the Steelers lose, it's because of what the Steelers do and not a whole lot of what the Browns do.
Oh, we lost Todd, your audio.
Sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead. There we go.
I agree with you 100%, Paul. If it's me, I'm going into this game, and I know Junkins is out. That's a help, obviously, because he's a pretty good runner. Doesn't mean they can't run the football, but I would at all cost stop the run, much like you did last week against the Lions, and it should be a little easier task, I would think, and make Shedeur try to beat you. I just think you look at when he's turned it over, different things. Can he play? Yeah, he's got ability, but very inconsistent, playing like a young player right now. Conditions, it sounds like, are going to be poor, rainy and cold, and the wind picking up as the game goes on. So I would do everything I could to stop the run and make that young guy beat you, and just assume that all things equal, your quarterback's going to make more plays for the Steelers than he's going to make for the Browns. I mean, they're scoring 17 points for a reason, or 16-something for a reason. It means they do some good things, but they don't do enough generally. What you can't do is give them anything. The Steelers offense cannot give them anything. I don't think the Steelers defense can all of a sudden let somebody get over the top for an easy big play. Just keep everything in front of you and force this young kid to keep making good decisions and good throws, because I think eventually, whether it's a tip ball or a poor throw or a poor route, that the Steelers will get opportunities to get the ball in their hands. And that would, to me, should lead to victory.
One thing about it is, the Steelers have not had the luxury of going into the playoffs rested, really healthy, and all that other good stuff. So you kind of lost an opportunity for essentially a 2-week bye. It's really important for them to win this game so that next week they can rest anybody that needs rested and really get themselves set up for their first playoff game. I think that some people just sort of poo-poo that kind of stuff. But when you have the third oldest roster in the NFL, that's important to me. I mean, I think it's important to be able to get some of those guys a little bit of rest.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple things you love that ability to rest people who really need it. and you also need to have a little momentum and confidence going in. And right now, I think the Steelers are probably playing their best football over the last 4 games since that Bills debacle. And that is really critical in my belief that just the team in general has confidence. They know what it feels like to win. They know what it feels like to end a game. They know what it feels like to line up in victory formation. So you walk a fine line, Paul. I felt like back in 17, we had a really good team. We had that ability to rest some people. And in that situation, to me, and not as old a team as we have right now, but I felt like we lost a little momentum. So I think you got to really pick and choose who the guys are that really need it, and it can benefit them a bunch. But while at the same time, just trying to keep in that same rhythm you've been in that's been allowing you to play really good football.
Now, I know you can't replace a DK Metcalf, but how do you feel about the next man up with MVS and Thielen and, maybe Jonnu Smith? What do you expect out of this wide receiving court in lieu of the fact that they're not going to have DK for the next 2 games and especially today?
Well, the DK thing's just a killer to me because, you guys have heard me say, get the ball to DK, find ways to get it in his hands. He's one of the playmakers that can stretch the field. He can score from anywhere. I don't know once you go beyond him who that guy could be. Maybe Scantling, Valdez-Scantling. It was nice to see Miller get involved a little bit. Austin, it sounds like, is going to be out. So who is going to give you that threat? And the threat doesn't mean you're throwing it. It just means it helps Aaron Rodgers. When DK's out there lined up, he kind of knows what the coverage is going to be, and then he can do his thing cadence-wise accordingly. So how are you going to scare the defense? You're going to have Arthur Smith, I think, is going to have to be a little more creative, maybe tight ends outside of receivers to define looks at times when they need it. But I like Thielen. I think he's still a heck of a inside player. Scotty Miller got a little play last week. I don't think he's going to go out and dominate a game by any means, but it's going to have to be a kind of a mixed bag, I would think. But that's why I started the conversation with you can't just come out and try to run it. That obviously is not going to work. But I think there needs to be some creativity and creating some easy looks for Aaron Rodgers to get the ball out of his hands quick. And if one of those happen, getting the ball out of your hands quick doesn't mean you can't throw the football down the field. So when you get those situations where you get a one-on-one outside, maybe it's Jonnu Smith on a quick fade, even in the field of play. So I think they're going to have to be a little creative without DK there.
No, the one thing that I think has really helped their passing game, I think it was pretty noticeable, is getting guys like Thielen and even Scotty Miller and Valdez-Scantling, veteran guys out there that have been in the league, that have played. It's clear that Aaron Rodgers is far more comfortable knowing, okay, these guys are going to run good routes. Thielen is a good blocker. They're going to do things that we need them to do. And it's pretty clear, even though those guys aren't putting up big numbers, they've been able to free up DK Metcalf to be able to do his thing because they do get to where they're supposed to do and run the route combinations the right way. I mean, I don't know. That's been my observation. Is that what you've seen?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Adam Thielen, I worked with him with Larry Fitzgerald's kid for a week last summer. And man, you talk about a guy that understands how to run routes, how to get open, where to be, where he's supposed to be. He's an instant comfort blanket. So I could see he and Aaron, really hitting it off well because quarterbacks like to trust that the guy's going to be where he's supposed to be and they can make the play. And the same with Scantling. To me, it's just, you said DK, to take the pressure off of DK, that's the double-edged sword. There needs to be somebody that has speed that can run through the defense. I've said it week in and week out on here. You have to at least impose that threat for all these other things to come to life, because if it's just everybody running around, inside the numbers running 10-yard routes, that's going to be a cluster. and then bad things can happen. So I still think it's imperative that they find a way to stretch the field. Is Thielen going to be that guy? Probably not. But maybe, like I said, Jonnu Smith on a linebacker, Jonnu Smith on an undersized safety. That's where, to me, I think the creativeness has to come in to kind of cover up that loss of DK and what he gives just being lined up out there.
Well, I think one thing that we probably should bring up is the fact that they've got to be aware where Myles Garrett is all the time. Because he's a guy who's listen. Last year, the year before, I think there was a lot of Steeler fans who were upset that he was being compared to T.J. Watt. I don't know who's a better player, but I do know this: that Myles Garrett is having a much better season than T.J. Watt, and it seems like he's been very active in every game. I've kind of caught the Browns a little bit, even if he's not getting a sack, which, he's getting 2-3 sacks seemingly every week. Even when he's not getting a sack, he's creating all kinds of headaches for the other team. He's the kind of guy that probably, we've got to see. What's the young kid playing left tackle right now? Or the undrafted guy playing left tackle? I can't think of his name. What's his name?
Oh, geez, I forget too now.
Anyway,
Dylan Cook.
Dylan Cook. We're going to see whether or not this guy, he can play, right?
Yeah, but he's going to need some help. I think this is you're right. Myles Garrett is a game wrecker. Who do I think's the better player? Who's the better pass rusher? Probably Myles. Better overall player, in my opinion, probably TJ. That could be an advantage for the Steelers, because when guys are strictly worried about getting sacks, the discipline can wane, and all of a sudden creases open up in the run game. So, but you gotta vary the protection. You got to slide so he can overset. Sometimes you got to chip so he can underset. Sometimes guys got to play to the whistle, because Myles definitely does. It's going to be a full-time game, and you better know, full-time job, and you better know where he is at all times, because, they're moving him around. They're putting him in the middle linebacker spot at times and letting him rush. So it makes it much more difficult for the Steelers to dictate, how they're going to protect or get two guys on him at least. So I expect ball out quick, man. I'm just hoping that some of those balls out quick are going down the field a little bit, because, again, there's a go route and then there's a fade route. So a fade route can come out in 2 seconds. It's just a little shorter down the field throw, but just as effective.
We've got Todd Haley joining us here on our pregame show, and Paul Zeiss at Steel City Sunday, brought to you in part by Arch Masonry and Restoration. Looking to hire concrete finishers, brick masons, and block masons? You can call them 412-564-5733 or visit archmasonryinc.com. Okay, we've talked a little bit about Shedeur Sanders. We've talked a little bit about Myles Garrett. I think we're in agreement that Shedeur probably isn't going to beat you. So this becomes very one-dimensional. The weather doesn't look great. I saw your colleague, Paul, posting on X, Ray Fittipaldo. They've got the tarp out in Cleveland. It's raining up that way. If that continues, it's going to make the track a little slippy, as they like to say around these parts. So, now it comes down to who's going to maybe have the better running game. And as again, I'm just sitting here trying to assess all of this on the fly as things go here. With Derek Harmon playing as well as he has, and when he's healthy, he's clearly made a difference for us in terms of our run defense, where we're able to stop the run in a much more effective manner. And that was Jamari Gibbs, what do you have, 6 yards rushing last week? Something like that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers ran for more than they did. So
yeah, exactly, Coach. That's exactly right. They're a different team when Derek Harmon's in there. He's going to obviously play today. How do the Browns beat the Steelers? That's my question, maybe at this point.
Well, I think first and foremost, they hope they get the Steelers to do some things to beat themselves. Whether it's a sack, fumble, interception, whatever it is. But this is one of those, I was well taught by the great Bill Parcells. We'd look at the weather all the way up till the night before the game. And this is what we'd sit as a staff last night and say a 4-minute what's our 4-minute package, meaning our big package. So the Steelers have shown the ability to get, an extra lineman in there, an extra tight end. When the weather's bad, the field's bad, throwing's hard, that could come in handy. But I think it's going to be a down and dirty, messy game. I really do. And whoever can make the fewest mistakes probably has a great chance. But I think the Steelers have to have some efficiency running the football. They have to absolutely stuff Cleveland's run and then try to make this young guy get in a little bit of a panic and do the wrong thing at the wrong time a couple times and create opportunity. But this is what's the over under? I mean, I would be guessing in the mid-low 30s.
That's a great question.
It is.
35 and a half. 35
Yeah,
and a half.
It's 35 and a half. Yeah. I think one of the things about the whole turnovers obviously are a big part of any of these games and the way that they change these games. And that's where Myles Garrett or somebody like that comes into play. But, it's a game that could be, Mike Tomlin loves to play games like this close to the vest a little bit because of what we're just talking about. The way you lose a game like this is by making a bunch of mistakes, and getting reckless and careless. And the other part of it, I'd say, Todd, is, you want to get up on the Browns because I think the Browns will go away. I mean, I know that, all these guys are pros and all this other stuff. You can't tell me that, you haven't watched a few games the last couple of weeks where teams are eliminated and they just kind of quit. It just kind of was like, not necessarily quit, but just in the second half, their heart wasn't in it as much as it probably should have been. Like, I'll give you a great example. The Dolphins, when they played here, it was second half, it was pretty clear they were ready just to get out of the cold and go home, And so, to me, it's a rainy, sloppy, ugly day. You get up, you got a team like the Browns, they're going to start thinking about being in, Cancun or something. That's just
absolutely. Bags are packed. The special guys don't do that, but you want to take their hope away as early in this game as possible. Because it means, like you said, if you have a lead and you're now running the ball a bunch, even if it's leading to punts, that's okay. Myles Garrett is going to lose interest. What he likes is 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, obvious passing situations where he can scream off the ball and add to his sack total. So you can deter him pretty easy. Double teams early, frustrate him. We used to do it with a lot of big time rushers, and you just see him kind of shut down. They'd say, this is going to be all day. I got no chance. So you can do that with the whole team. But it's easy to say start fast, get up, but. Is this a game where you, win the toss and take the football? I don't know necessarily that. I think I'd still be wanting to stuff them on stuff their offense one time early. But it is. I think it would be a real big help if you could get up on them and they lose hope pretty quickly and start thinking about like you said, Cancun or wherever their place of interest is.
Coach, our Facebook timeline and our YouTube timeline is all screaming for you to come back and be the coordinator, and they want to know where you're heading and when you're coming back into the league. Just some of these people are up in arms over it. You generate some buzz, Coach. I'm telling you, you make people excited. All right, before I let you go, prediction from you today. How does this game end? Who wins?
I think Steelers win, and I'm going to say 17-6 Steelers.
Another ugly game between the Steelers and Browns. Todd Haley, former head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, offensive coordinator for the Steelers, Browns, Arizona Cardinals. Thank you, sir. You've been very kind with your time, and we thank you for joining us every week.
Hey, thanks for having me. Love talking ball. Happy holidays to both of you. Good seeing you, Paul, too.
All right, we'll see you as always. Good seeing you.
Thank you, Coach. Todd Haley joining us for his weekly hit. Always a pleasure to speak with him. All right, Paul, a couple more minutes with you, and I'll let you be. I think this is a slightly different scenario than what we've seen in the past with Tomlin teams that have gone on the road in situations like this. I'm not saying that it can't happen, but I just have this strange feeling like I haven't had in quite some time in this spot, where they're just going to go up there today and again, ugly football game, but I think they're the better team, and I think the better team would like to have a week off. And I think I'd like to see them get the ball first. I don't know about you. I'd very much like to see this offense get the ball first and put a 7 on the board right away.
Well,
establish that, and that might be what you're talking about. All of a sudden now the Browns are like, oh, you know what I mean? Force a 3 and out, gain control, and just choke them off as the clock ticks away to 0.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing to me. It's like you just don't want to give a team like this life, John. Right. You just don't want to give them the idea. Like I said, once the Steelers got up two scores or whatever it was on the Dolphins, you just kind of saw their demeanor changed, their willingness to stick their nose in there for those extra hard tackles and hard yards. It all just kind of goes away, but they're all competitors. And if they're playing in a game that's very competitive, and they still have a chance and they feel like they have a chance, they're going to play. I mean, they're going to play and really try and win the game. So my point is, I don't think people fully realize or understand that. You have to go up there if you're and here's the thing, John, for those out there that are conspiracy theorists or just degenerate gamblers, there's a sentiment that somehow this is a pre-scripted game. And, so to me, if you're the Steelers, take New York out of the equation by just beating the hell out of the Browns. The first 3 quarters,
I agree. I think if they get up in the first 30 minutes, I think this game's over.
The funny thing, the funniest scenario would be if the Steelers had a situation like the Lions had at the end of last game, or like that touchdown that wasn't against the Ravens.
Right.
If say the Steelers are down 4. And the last play, or maybe one of the last plays of the game, or a 4th down play with like 40 seconds left, they throw it, and it's that play with Likely, you know what I'm talking about, where he catches the ball in the end zone. It's clearly a touchdown. I don't care what anybody says. Right. He takes 2 steps in the end zone, and then they basically wave it off, and the Steelers lose. That would make for a fun week for guys like me. But my point is, you look at it, you just don't want it to come down to that. Which, by the way, this is how dumb that row is. Did you happen to see the touchdown? I think it was Zay Flowers scored late in the game last night against the Ravens, where he catches it, takes 2 steps and sticks it out, and they knock it out of his hands, but the tip of the ball got across the goal line, so they called it a touchdown.
Because that's the football move. Isn't that the football move?
Well, right? I mean, I don't know what the football move is.
Right, I don't either.
Come on. I'm upset. That was obscene. That was obscene.
Yeah, I missed that. Actually,
what's funny is if that play is called correctly, and the Ravens win that game, we're talking about a completely different situation.
Right.
I agree, and I said this earlier with Mike Ostie. The league would be wise to go to full-time officials, but I don't think they want to, because I think they quite frankly enjoy the chaos of these types of scenarios, right? Because one official is going to call it, one set of officials with a group in New York watching a game, right? Now, they probably just had one crew in New York working. When they're, on a Sunday like this, they've got to have 8 or 9 crews working, right, to watch it. So when you have multiple games on a Sunday, you've got multiple crews working. And so therefore, you're going to get 8 or 9 different perspectives. Maybe 5 fall on one side and 4 fall on the other. And just depending on who's working what in the scenario like that, you're going to get a decision that that confuses fans. And I think they enjoy that because it keeps the fingers clicking, and it keeps the typing going, and it keeps the chatter and buzz going. And it feeds into the conspiracy stuff that we have kind of talked about. You want to pick 5 games against the spread or no?
Yeah, absolutely. You know me.
All right, of course. All right, usually Paul wins and I lose, but that's the way it goes sometimes. Seattle at Carolina. The Panthers are 7-point dogs at home.
The Panthers are actually playing for something. I guess Seattle is technically too, but my point is I think that Seattle is a kind of they're a really good team, but they're a little bit wishy-washy sometimes. And so to me, you know what? 7 at home for a playoff team, I gotta go with Carolina. I think that they're gonna cover. And you know what, John? If I had a couple of extra shekels and I was at the sports book, I might go Carolina money line. But you know what? This is a game I'll take the 7 points. How about that?
By the way, that's 265 on the money line for those
I'll
of you
take
that
the
don't
7
know.
points.
I'll take the 7 as well. I agree with you. I think Carolina has something to play for, as does Seattle. They're playing for number 1 seed. But again, if San Francisco holds out that game next Sunday, it becomes the marquee game. All right, staying in the division, Cincinnati is hosting Arizona. The Bengals are -7 at home.
First of all, can you imagine? I'm assuming the weather's crappy in Cincinnati. Can you imagine paying money for a ticket to sit outside to watch that mess?
Yeah.
I don't even know right now who Arizona's quarterback is. Is Kyler Murray back, or has he been out? I know they've had about 2 or 3 different guys play quarterback for him. So, nevertheless, I think that the Bengals are the kings of playing really, really well when they're eliminated. And so you know what? I'll lay the 7. That's a big number in the NFL. I'll lay the 7 because I feel like Joe Burrow, you know, he's kind of irritated. He's not in the playoffs, and he's going to play at a high level. I like the Bengals probably to blow them out in this game.
I want Arizona in the 7 in this one. I'm taking the points. And they over
points.
That's fair.
That is definitely, if you're looking for a game to bet over, that seems to be the game.
Yeah, Cincinnati at home has almost been a mortal lock in the overs this year.
Jacoby Brissett is starting.
Jacoby Brissett.
I was looking for it. I couldn't find
it.
Another
Another former Browns quarterback who's better than the current Browns quarterback. But go ahead.
All right. Let's go to God, these games are so bad. Jacksonville, these games are so bad. Jacksonville at Indianapolis. I think the Colts have been eliminated from the playoffs.
They have.
They have been. So that's +5, the Colts. Do they have anything? Do they show up to try to thwart Jacksonville's chances of winning the AFC South today at home? +5.
You know, as much as I've loved the Old Man Rivers story, last week was Phillip Rivers in a nutshell. Looked really good throwing the ball over the field, right?
Yes, he did.
A couple of touchdowns, all that other good stuff. Crunch time when they really need him, he throws an interception. And that is why he's the guy that had a zillion yards and always had great stats, but never won anything. I think now that the bubble has burst, I think they'll probably go away quietly into the night. And I like Jacksonville minus the, 5.5 or whatever it is?
5. We got 5 according to BetMGM.
5. I like Jacksonville minus the 5.
I agree with you on that one. All right, New Orleans is at Tennessee. Titans are +1.5 at home.
Speaking of games that you've got to be out of your mind to go sit and watch.
75 and rainy in Nashville, 65 and rainy in Cincinnati, by the way.
I mean, all I'll tell you is this. I know that Cam Ward played really well the other day or last week or whatever. I just have no faith in him. I think the Titans are an absolute disaster. Even though the Saints, the Saints have a rookie quarterback too, right? And he's about 96 years old already. I mean, he's that guy Tyler Schaff.
Yes.
He's an old guy too. He's an old guy that's a rookie. I'm going to go. Here's the thing. Someone pointed this out. Like Tennessee could have like A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry, Malik Willis. You know what I mean? A bunch of other guys if they just weren't stupid. So I'll say they're stupid and they stink. So I'm going to take the Saints.
All right. I'm going Tennessee. I want the 1.5. All right. I'm going to add an extra game. We're going to do 6 real quick here. Philadelphia at Buffalo in the 425. That's a good one. Philadelphia at Buffalo. Bills -2.5 at home.
I like the Eagles to win this game, believe it or not.
Wow.
I like the Eagles. I'll take the 2.5 points, but if this is one of those games where, that guy from wherever he is, Jacksonville, that's a handicapper that goes on TV and everything else, the wrong team is favored in this game. I like the Bills. I like the Eagles to win. I'll take the points just in case, but I'd like them to win outright. If I was a betting man, which I'm not. Okay, maybe I am, but I like the Eagles in this game.
All right, I'm going to take the Bills minus 2.5. Last one, Chicago at San Francisco, a real good one on Sunday Night Football. Right now, San Francisco minus 3.5 at home.
Well, I'll say this as an aside. I'll say this. If ever there was a game you want to take the over, I think this is an over game.
Okay.
But anyway, what is
1.5? Okay.
I think it's going to be, San Francisco's defense is beat up. Caleb Williams is really, starting to roll. The 49ers offense is good. What was the line again?
It's 3.5, and the total is 51.5. So San Francisco minus 3.5 at home.
I think I like the 49ers at home in this one. Even the 3.5. Yeah, I think they'll cover that. I could see them winning this game something like, 35-28 or something like that. And so, yeah, absolutely. Love the 49ers, but I really love the over in that game.
I agree with you. I think both of those are good. All right, Paul, thank you. You're kind with your time. We can't thank you enough. Paul Zeiss of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Enjoy the game today. Quick prediction, Paul. I forgot to ask for your prediction. What do you think is going to happen?
Today, I think that a lot of people are really kind of nervous for no reason at all. I think the Steelers are going to handle business in this game. It could be interesting maybe for a little bit, but for the most part, I think the Steelers will kind of dominate this game. And once they get up, the Browns will go into a shell. So I'm going to say something to the effect of, John, Steelers 23, Browns 6.
23-6 it is. Paul, thank you for your time. Can't thank you enough, sir.
All right, brother. Anytime.
All right. Paul Zeiss, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, joining us on our pregame show every single week. And we can't thank him enough. All right. We're going to get to Zig Fracassi in just a second. Steel City Sunday continues to roll on as we prepare for hour number 3. We'll take you till about 12:45 today, this afternoon. About 12:45 in the coverage here. And nonetheless, we're just hanging and banging here, folks. We come on here and we really try to provide the best coverage we can. I take great pride in making sure the guests are good, that you've got good commentary. We can't thank you enough for all of your comments on all the different social media platforms that are coming in. Good morning to who else? Who is in here? I'm going to try to bring that up. We got Ronnie Hunter saying good morning. We got Chord Manotomy saying, agreeing with some of the things we're saying. Hey, they got to come out the gates hot offensively. I agree with that. We got another one, Steelers Freak, saying the word is that the Steelers drop an L so that, what's this say? The nation has a week to drink Maylocks. I'm not saying you're wrong that the league would love to see a Steelers loss, okay? Although, again, as I look at the schedule for next week, and we're going to bring Zig Fracassi on here in just a second. He's our NFL insider. He's been at Sirius XM's NFL radio for over 22 years. I had the great pleasure of working with Zig 30 years ago in Las Vegas, Nevada. The Bears, the Seahawks and 49ers are the last gasp for the league next week. And I'll ask Zig this year when we bring him on here in a second. Assuming those two teams win, they will meet next week with the division championship on the line, and they have already played once already this year. The 49ers had a victory over Seattle. So as long as each team holds serve, if the Steelers win today, we know what our Sunday Night Football matchup is going to be next week. It'll be Seattle and San Francisco, and the winner is going to get the NFC West championship. All right, let's bring Zig in here. When it comes to when it comes to NFL knowledge, I don't know if I know anybody that has more on their brain than this man right here. Good morning, Zig. How are you today? How you feeling, my friend?
Dude, I'm a lot better and just hanging and banging with the crew over. I love that line.
That's it. That's a Hulk Hogan hanging and banging. That's a great '80s line from the immortal one. May he rest in peace. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the league's going to be fine, assuming Seattle and obviously San Francisco. Not an easy game. The Bears have plenty to
Both
play
have
for.
to win.
Yeah. Well, not only do they have to keep winning, but I mean, I'm just looking at the NFC standings right now. Chicago, obviously is the 2 seed. They could possibly catch Seattle. If they win against San Francisco today, that kind of kills the 49ers, especially if Seattle wins. They want to keep pace if they can. Maybe San Francisco still tries to knock out Seattle from the number 1 spot next week. I think that, that game has plenty to be played for, given what we're looking at. Boy, the NFC has just – I mean, I'm looking at the NFC this year. Everybody that's going to get in is going to have it. Well, assuming the Packers can win next week, we'll have at least 10 wins. Same thing with the most likely with the AFC. If the Steelers can win today, they'll get to 10 wins as well.
Well, think about this, JP. Remember last year we had from the NFC North 3 teams that had double-digit victories.
Yep.
2 of them wind up being wild cards. That's going to be the same thing this year with the NFC West. Seattle, San Fran, or the Rams. 2 of them are ultimately going to be wild cards as well. One game for next Sunday, I wouldn't dismiss, JP, depending on obviously today's results. I imagine the NFL could also be hoping for Carolina and Tampa for the NFC South.
Yeah, and that could easily be a marquee game in the 1 o'clock. I know I do like the fact that the league in the last few years, it's maybe been a little bit longer than that, 6-7 years now, where they hold off on the week 18 starts.
Right.
I love it because now they can actually look and see, okay, these teams are all connected. We're going to put them in this slot, and then we're going to have certain games in this slot that are all connected, and then we'll find the best matchup for the Sunday night game.
Some to Saturday, too.
That's right. They have done some Saturday games. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yep.
And that's good. I actually prefer that. I know there's been a lot of complaints, obviously. We'll talk about streaming more here in a moment. There's been some complaints about the streaming. I'll get your thoughts on that in a moment. But I really like and I'm not, look, we always people like to complain, and they certainly have plenty to complain about when it comes to the NFL and some of the decisions that they make. But I think they've gotten it right with this particular scenario as we get into the late season, especially the final week of trying to highlight the games that are most important and make them marquee matchups for people to enjoy.
Well, absolutely. And I remember, you're not that much younger than I am. You remember when the schedule was made many years ago, you would hope like week 15, week 16, that the games that they preordained for Saturday would turn out. More often than not, they didn't seem to. So I think now with this flex scheduling arrangement with the National Football League, like it turned out yesterday, you wound up getting 2 fairly meaningful games there with Houston and the Chargers, also Baltimore and Green Bay. So I'm with you there. I think they're doing a hell of a job in terms of, keeping the interest. Now, if you're a season ticket holder, you're saying, damn, I got to, maybe allowed to go on a Saturday. That could be a little bit of an inconvenience. Or if it becomes a night game, that could be an inconvenience. But hey, unfortunately, that's what happens maybe when you're a season ticket holder. But I think for the casual public and even us in the media, we like that aspect of it.
Zig, your fans are clamoring for more of you on the show here. We got a bunch of people saying nice things about you here. Is that Zig from Sirius XM? Absolutely, Gavin. It 100% is Zig Fracassi. Absolutely. Been in the broadcasting radio business for more than 35 years.
I knew Marconi, so.
That's right. There you go.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Rotary pots and learning to edit on reel-to-reel tapes. You did that, right?
Yeah, I tell you, the first time I was in a radio studio I was a freshman in college. It was literally my first day on the campus at Edinburgh University, and they brought me into an editing booth to watch somebody, and he had a little razor.
Yes.
And he had the little piece of white tape, the clear tape.
Right.
And he was teaching me how to edit, and that's how I learned. That was my first.
On the metal slide there,
that's right? On the metal slide. That's exactly right. That's exactly
how I learned.
It was 1988. 1988 goes back all that time. That's right. We're a far cry from the digital age that we're in now.
Right.
You're right.
Get
So,
that right.
absolutely. I'm sure you're doing work in a production booth with that kind of stuff. So it is a complete change over the course of our careers for sure. All right, so let's talk Steelers and Browns today. I mean, the weather's going to be bad across most of the country. It looks like rain is pretty much everywhere right now, and so colder temperatures in the Cleveland area. Let's talk about Steelers and Browns real quick. This has ugly written all over it, unless the Steelers can get up early. And I think that has a lot to do with maybe Aaron Rodgers and the offense. I'd like to see them, if they can get the ball first, I think if they can score a touchdown quickly, I think that takes a lot of wind out of a 3-12 team that would like to derail the Steelers' week off next week against Baltimore. They'd really like to beat them. But, for the Steelers to gain control quickly might put this team on ice by halftime and say, you know what, let's get our clubs ready for Cancun.
There you go. Well, you got to wonder, though, it's going to be really interesting to see how, the young man Dylan Cook, I believe his name is, how he's going to be able to handle Myles Garrett. Yeah. So that's going to be, to me, a central point of this game. I missed Paul there the last hour because I wanted to say I'm outraged whenever I see his post on Shadur Sanders. So I love teasing him on that. But, this game's going to be interesting. And I think now, John, that the fact the Steelers know that all they need to do is win. Now, for a younger team, they could be, all right, we'll just show up, roll the ball out because Cleveland stinks. But because you've got a veteran in Aaron Rodgers, you've got that good leadership here, I'm sure it's being stressed. Ball security, let's worry about each down and the matter at hand that it is. Don't look too far ahead. I think that would portend well for a veteran team like Pittsburgh as opposed to a younger team that thinks, well, we'll just roll the ball out because it doesn't work that way.
No, I don't disagree with you on that as well. Shadur Sanders, what have you seen from him so far? Anything that pops off the page for you?
I mean, obviously we know the hype and all the things around him and his father and everything they did at Jackson State and then obviously Colorado. But you know what? From what I've seen, John, I mean, the guy, he's got some size. He's got a nice enough arm. Seems like he has a decent enough touch. I'm not saying he's going to be the next great quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, which they haven't had, it seems like, forever. But I've seen some opportunity for him to be a decent enough quarterback, a guy I think who could enter next year as the potential starter with the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, well, he's certainly going to get the next two games to showcase what he can do.
Right.
And again, I think we've maintained all along, and I mean, I've certainly had this stance for a long time. Look, the position itself is the most demanding. It has the highest, pay. It's got all the spotlight. Yeah, the most attention for sure. And so giving quarterbacks, especially young quarterbacks, some time to develop is critical because it's very much a crapshoot when you're drafting these days. I mean, if you look at the last couple of drafts, okay, as I'm looking at things, is there anybody that really stands out? I mean, Drake May has developed fairly well. Caleb Williams is coming into his second year and has certainly matured. Jordan Love's a veteran at this point in time, but over the last couple of seasons, those are a couple of names, but there's probably another 12 or 14 that got drafted in the first round or two. Did you want to pop in and say something?
I said Bo Nix.
Okay, Bo Nix, thank you. Yeah, there you go. So, there's been a couple of guys. Yeah, so absolutely. So you've had a few that are, having good second or third seasons, but then you've got a bunch of others that have struggled. It's just a position that demands probably more of it than any other position in football for sure.
Well, and you got to look at it too. You've got a couple of scenarios like Sam Darnold, who's bounced around different teams. Now it seems like he's found his niche in Seattle. Even though Baker had performed largely pretty well in Tampa, I've seen tendencies of him kind of reverting back to the Browns version, and that's not good because the Bucs, obviously have lost 3 in a row in 6 of the last 7. But you also have these scenarios where you got guys that are maybe, succeeding now with some other teams. Like we saw last night, Snoop Huntley performing well for the Baltimore Ravens. I got to think that He may have a chance, John, to start somewhere next year. And obviously, Malik Willis, here's a guy who was a third-round pick of the Titans. They moved on from him, goes to Green Bay, goes into a productive system, and when called upon, played a hell of a game last night. Actually was pretty good in the game before when Love went down. So he may wind up getting another opportunity around the NFL. So it's really, I think Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings coach, said it very well. Organizations fail quarterbacks more often than quarterbacks fail organizations.
I agree.
So, right?
I agree. Kenny Pickett's a prime example of that.
Yeah.
He probably shouldn't have been drafted where he was.
No.
It was a reach, but the Steelers failed.
Get enamored with the talent, JP.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, he had a senior season like, you can't. I mean, he was projected 5th or 6th round as it was, and then he leads Pitt to the ACC championship and had the amazing year that he did. I think he finished 3rd or 4th in the Heisman voting or something like that. Yeah. So, I mean, he played himself up and look, they reached, but they handled him poorly. They handled him horribly, and you're absolutely right. I think there are organizations fail the player or the quarterback more often than it's the other way around. Yes, it is Zig Fracassi live on our Steelers pregame show. This is Steel City Sunday. Thank you for checking us out. We've got a bunch of people reaching out saying, hey, first timer here, Dennis Shaw. First time watching it. Love the show. Steeler Freak says Zigzag and Todd Haley on today. Not bad. Every week they're on. Every time we broadcast live before a Steelers game, we've got the coach and Zig. And Zig actually got us Todd Haley.
I was out with him this morning, the scoundrel, the Pulp Fiction star. So,
you guys did a show this morning.
Yeah, right after the Ravens-Packers game.
Oh, the late night. That's right. I did see you tweeting about that last night. Yeah. That's right. I absolutely did see you. And just in case for those of you first-timers checking out why Zig's on the show, Zig and I worked together many, many years ago in Las Vegas, Nevada at a sports
fan
network.
Radio,
That's
man.
right, Sports Fan with Pete Rose himself and a bunch of others. Chuck. The JT the Brick. I'm hoping Brick can come on. If we get a playoff game, I'm hoping we can get Brick on for the playoff game. Maybe we can get you two.
I'm bigger than Al Davis. I'm bigger than the Raiders. I love JT.
No, he's fantastic. Without question, he's great. Go ahead, Bill. You got something to say?
No, I was just going to tell Zig, you were talking about George Sanders. Hey, how you doing, Zig?
Good, buddy.
He's tough. I mean, God, when he played at Colorado, 2023 he got sacked 52 times.
Yes.
2024, 42 times.
Yes.
Guy's tough, man. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. He has decent arm strength. I think he's a young quarterback. I think he's still trying to come into his own and reading defenses. I think maybe he needs to improve a little bit better, but I don't know. I just, like I said, he's tough. He's tough. See what he can do today, but I know some of the other guests we had, like Paul Zeiss, and don't have too much confidence in him today and what he can do. So
no, but you know what? I think this is going to be one of those games, Bill, where he tries to make a statement here if he plays well enough that, you know what, even though Deshaun Watson's going to be on the roster with that ridiculously high cap number that he has, in all likelihood, he's not going to be the starter. They would probably hope Gabriel might be because they drafted him higher, but I think in the end, with all the intangibles that this kid Shadur has, maybe he does enter training camp next year as the top choice for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, Zig Fracassi joining us here on our Steel City Sunday show. We are live from the North Park Lounge, Richland, and the Hilltop Event Center. We're also brought to you in part by Arch Masonry and Restoration, hiring bricklayers, concrete finishers. I'm sure, Zig, if we can get you out here throwing some double 12s up, we can get some of these construction projects done a little sooner. Arch Masonry is hiring folks, 412-564-5733, Arch Masonry Inc.
Hire me on the yearly plan, JT, because it might take me a year just to get over there, for goodness sakes.
I don't know if they combined us as one human being, if we could lay
one brick.
Or make anything level or plumb for that matter. So anyhow, let's talk a little bit about some of these other games in the NFL today. I mean, the 1:00 card doesn't look all that great. I mean, I'm just obviously
Seattle, Carolina should be good.
It's a decent game. What are your thoughts on Seattle I had a conversation with somebody about this a few weeks ago. The NFL, the teams have figured out, it used to be if you were a West Coast team coming east for a 1 o'clock start, you were having problems, but teams have figured out, let's travel in an extra day or so early. Let's get ourselves acclimated. And that isn't such a big thing anymore. Carolina has surprised a lot of people this year. I think they can be competitive today. What say you?
Yeah, definitely. Although Seattle, then this actually started during the Pete Carroll era, and now it's transferred into the Mike McDonald era. I think they're over 70%, JP, when it comes to traveling to the East in about the last decade. So Seattle's got this figured out. So that's not going to be much of a factor. But what I think could ultimately be is fatigue. I mean, they played their you-know-what's off the other night against the Rams, so they needed that extra time off. But now you do have to travel east. And, by the way, the Carolina coach Canales, he was Pete's assistant in Seattle. So you got to think that there's going to be a little bit of extra motivation on his side. How do the Seahawks handle that backfield tandem there of Rico Dowdle and also Chuba Hubbard? That's going to be interesting. Bryce Young's got to keep out of the turnovers, I think, for Carolina to have any chance. I think Carolina's got a solid chance, obviously, with the division on the line, and it would be a good win against the top seed in the NFC and the Seahawks.
Yeah, it would be a really good game for sure. Let's talk a little bit about the later games today. Obviously, the big marquee at 4:25 is Philadelphia at Buffalo. Look, these teams are trying to find a spot in the seedings. These games are important to both, right? Buffalo can't afford to lose because they'll drop back down further. Currently, right now, they're in the 5 spot. So if they lose, I'm almost certain that I was reading earlier, the Texans would jump ahead of them because they do have a win against Buffalo, if memory serves me correct.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure they played that Thursday night game, and so they already have a win against Buffalo. So the Bills need to win this game. And then when you look at the Eagles right now, they're sitting in the 3 spot. A Bears loss today, and then an Eagles win. The Bears still have that tiebreaker from the Thanksgiving or the Black Friday win, I believe it was, when they went to Philadelphia. But again, Chicago next week could lose. The Eagles win out. Now they become the 2 seed. So teams definitely have some sort of incentive to continue to keep playing hard. How do you feel that Eagles at Bills game out today as a native Western New Yorker?
Yeah, well, I got to think, depending on what happens earlier in the day with the Patriots and the Jets, like if New England wins, does that change at all the idea of Sean McDermott maybe to play Josh Allen very much? Because let's not forget, he tweaked his foot last week against Cleveland, and he was noticeably hobbling, although McDermott said throughout the week that Josh's foot was getting better and he doesn't see any limitations. But we'll see. Again, depending on that game with the Patriots, because they still hold the lead in the AFC East. And in terms of Philadelphia, John, I don't know what to think because, quite honestly, the Eagles were a middling team when they were losing 3 in a row. But then you get the Raiders and the Commanders back-to-back. You talk about soft landing spots. Yes, Philadelphia won those games, still wasn't knocked off with either of their performances. So maybe we get a truer gauge from them today if they're back to being the defending champs, or was it because they played the Raiders and the Commanders that maybe Philadelphia isn't a free fall if you play a good team like Buffalo?
How about the Sunday night game tonight? That's another one that has a lot of implications to it, not just, again, mostly for seeding purposes at the end of the day, but a real good one tonight. Chicago at San Francisco. Look, the 49ers have proven that they belong among the upper echelon teams in the league. They've been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 6 seasons. So, they've proven that
too. Yep.
Yeah, championship games as well. For Chicago, nobody saw this one coming, obviously. Who's the pressure on here, do you think? Is there pressure? I would think yes.
Yeah, probably on San Francisco. And I got to tell you something. By the way, Chicago, Ben Johnson, terrific first year on the job and really doing well with Caleb. And they're winning the close games. That's one of the secret sauce things. They're able to win those less than one touchdown type games, and that's been a key for them. San Francisco, I mean, everybody's going to talk D'Amico Ryans, Mike Vrabel, and all that for Coach of the Year, and rightly so. But my choice might have to be Kyle Shanahan, because look, I mean, John, they've lost throughout this season your two best defenders in Bosa and Warner. You didn't have Brock Purdy for a few games. Mac Jones came in, did very well. Yeah. Remember, they also had a bunch of off-season losses. Deebo Samuel and a bunch of other players, Hargrave and Hufanga and guys like that, left this team. People thought the Niners might be a 6-7 win team. Here they are, double digits, and with all the injuries that they have, he might be my choice for Coach of the Year. And to this game, at home, with the division title on the line, I'd probably lean towards San Francisco here.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Zig, but didn't they start the season with 11 guys on IR?
You might be right, Bill. I'd have to double check that, but they were in the infirmary already, and then throughout the season they lost Bosa and Warner and Purdy for a period of time. But I think Shanahan's done an unbelievable coaching job here.
I'm pretty sure at the start of the season when we did our Thursday show, I'm pretty sure I saw that and brought that up. I think it was 11 guys they started the season on the IR. So
yeah, and all the guys they did lose to free agency in that too. You know?
Exactly.
Yep. All right, a couple more minutes with Zig Fracassi, of course, Sirius XM's NFL Radio, our NFL insider. Zig joining us every single week on our pregame show. Zig, I guess predictions. Let's start with the Steelers and Browns today. How do you see this one playing out?
I think there's going to be what's the old term, slobber knocker.
Donnybrook.
A Donnybrook there on the shores of Lake Erie.
That's it.
I think it comes down to a field goal game. I think the Browns hang around. I think it's a pride factor for them. Shedeur, obviously has something to play for, but I think Pittsburgh has a little more to play for. Give me 23-20 Steelers.
Zig Fracassi of Sirius XM's NFL Radio joining us every single week on our pregame show. Zig, can't thank you enough. Bill, you got something you want to add?
Just want to say thanks, Zig. Take care, buddy.
Oh, thank you guys. You guys are the absolute best. Love being on with you.
Tonight, what do you got tonight?
Tonight we got Sirius XM NFL Radio's NFL Rewind. Former college and pro quarterback Matt Sims, the son of the great Phil Sims. He'll join me. We'll recap the Bears and 49ers and the rest of the Sunday card until 2 a.m. Eastern on Channel 88 and the Sirius XM app.
All right, I'll be driving back from Dayton, Ohio, so I'll be tuning you in.
Well, you're just all over the map, James.
I gotta take my sister-in-law back home.
Oh, okay.
I drove out Wednesday, out and back in like 9 hours. I got to do it again today, so that's why there's no post-game shows, in case you were wondering.
There you go. But and by the way, belated Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, and all that, and then Happy New Year to each and every one of you.
All right, thanks, Zig. We'll talk to you next week, okay?
All right, boys, take care now.
All right, Zig Fracassi of Sirius XM's NFL Radio joins us every single week on our pregame show. Brendan Howe is going to be joining us. He is a Steelers writer for Pittsburgh Sports Now and also the Butler Eagle. He is live in Cleveland. He's getting his parking situated. And I just checked in with him via Messenger, and we'll have him in just a little bit. In the meantime, it's Bill Akins, John Phillips, live, North Park Lounge, Richland. Just been fantastic. About almost 1,500 of you watching right now. I started this show on the fly at the beginning of the year. This show came together within 8 days of the regular season starting. And I mean, we've had some big audiences for no advertising budget, and really, just not being able to, you get the word out when you're grassroots and you're at the beginning of something. It's hard, right? It's hard to get people's attention. It's hard to generate a buzz. We're doing it just through guests, quite frankly. I'm booking guests, the good guests every week is important to us. And I can just tell you right now, the feedback we're getting in our chat section has been fantastic today. I think it's the best we've seen to date by far. We've got new people checking us out. We've got people checking in that are, saying, hey, I got Steelers Freak. He goes, he lives in Las Vegas. I was just out there in August, Steelers Freak. It was a good time. The best way to help our channels is to like and or subscribe to them. You can especially help us out on YouTube at Steel City Sunday. If you're not following us on YouTube specifically, please do so. Or if you're on X right now, because we're getting a lot of people checking us out via Paul Zeiss's social media feed, please give us a follow, right? Retweet or tell a friend. Helps us out tremendously. We are getting tremendous feedback today, more so than we have. And I think that's because the Steelers have won 3 games, right? That helps when the team does well, right? Because people are much more interested. It's a big game today, right? And we're trying to provide content that you folks want to have in your arsenal when you're getting prepared for Steelers Sundays, right? That's why we try to bring on good people. We have a former NFL head coach and offensive coordinator. We've got a longtime beat writer and radio guy. We've got young, well-established people like Mike Ostie, who join us on a regular basis to come on the shows. We got Zig, who comes on from New York to talk NFL with us. That's why we bring on a variety of guests. We try to bring on professional sports gamblers. We try to do a weekly segment on picks. We try to bring on people from the opposite team that cover the team. We weren't able to get anybody for Cleveland. That's what I say to Cleveland media right there. But we've had some people come on. We've had people come in from Seattle. We've had people come on from Indianapolis. We've had people come on from other cities this year that have joined the show, and we appreciate all of that. But the chat that we've gotten, by far the liveliest, don't you think, Bill? Hands down.
God, yeah, I can't keep up.
Yeah, let's see. We got a couple more in there if you want to pop a few on. I'm trying to also engage on our YouTube channel, but the YouTube channels, I have some YouTube links out there on some different Steeler web pages. Go ahead and put that back up. Refs may rip off the fans because the Ravens won. They're coming in from D-Bouse 2076. I've talked about the officiating, and I've said all along that I think the league prefers to have part-time refs, not because they're cheap, but because it keeps the talk going. It keeps the buzz going. And you don't know what you're going to get because officials see things and interpret things differently. Just because a rule book says XYZ or ABC doesn't mean everybody sees it that way. And I think that I don't like it, but I understand why the league does it.
The other criticism I have is not, my number one criticism of the whole thing is that they're not full time. They're part time,
right?
But also they don't have a lot of youth in the ref.
No, not young. No.
And my question is can some of these guys keep up with the speed of the game?
I don't disagree with you. I think, and that might also play in terms of where they're positioning people. Right. You know what I mean? Like somebody who's a little older might be better suited for a back judge or line judge position.
Yeah. And their argument to that might be that, well, these guys are experienced. They know where to be on the field. They know they've seen it all. This is the type. It's the youthfulness, being able to keep up with the speed of the game, isn't a major factor. I don't know. I don't know.
I think it plays more into the fact that they enjoy the buzz.
I agree.
Generated.
I totally agree with that.
Over the controversies, especially the catch rules, right? The catch rule is the one that it probably comes up more often than not,
right, in
these conversations. And so when you're getting that buzz from people, and again, the gambling segment is growing, but it's not as big as the overall base of fans. But now you're literally there's only a handful of states where you can't legally gamble on football. So now everybody's got skin in the game, right? Everybody's got skin in the game because they got action on this game or action on that game. Maybe they got a small parlay and they need the last leg to come in, and a controversial play gets ruled against them. It fuels that conversation on social media, which is what they're looking for, and the interaction that comes with it.
And I mean, wouldn't you say out of all the major leagues in just North America, doesn't the NFL have the best storylines? I mean, they have the juiciest
Yes,
storyline. I mean,
without
you
a
have
doubt.
yeah, you don't see that stuff
Without a doubt.
in the NHL. You don't see that stuff in the MLB that much. I mean, maybe during the steroid era you saw that, but NBA maybe NBA a little bit more, but you don't see what you see in the NFL.
I think you see more in the NBA because you've got a handful of players. Each roster only has 12,
Right.
and it's a star-driven league without a doubt. So and the bravado. Again, I talked about Juju Smith-Schuster when he got here. It was all about his Instagram, right? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
His social media profile and how he was, how he was perceived online.
He rode his bike around. He didn't have a driver's license.
Yeah, right. All of
By
that.
the way, funny story. My wife went to driving school, the same place that he went to driving school and got his license. They had pictures up on the wall.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
I'm sure that didn't help his ego at all. But again, thanks for joining us here today. Continue to please. We will have a show next week. Of course, if the Steelers win, we will have a playoff broadcast. We'll have to wait and see when the Steelers play. I would think there'll probably be a primetime game or a 4:25 kickoff. I don't see the Steelers being in an early window game. It's going to really depend. I would think depends on the setup. If they play Baltimore, or if they play Buffalo, it'll probably be a primetime game. If they play Houston, it could be a 1 o'clock game because I don't think the league values the Houston Texans. Steelers Freak checking in via YouTube. The refs are an easy out for the disgruntled fan who can't take a loss without having an excuse. And Paul Zeiss said that. Very, very astute assessment. Paul said that. And I don't disagree with him. I don't disagree with him at all. Okay, we're probably a few more minutes away from getting Brendan Howe on here. This is Steel City Sunday, live from the North Park Lounge, Richland. They have us off in a side room today. Last week when we got here for the 4:25 game, they forgot about us. And they didn't have a space for us. This week when we got here, they were like, we're just going to put you down here. I actually like the space. It would actually be kind of cool if a few people filtered in here and hung out, watched a little pregame. But, if you're in the area, North Park Lounge, Richland, right on Route 8 on the hill in Gibsonia, please stop on by. Great specials, great food. We eat every week here when we're here. The food is very good. They've got great drink specials. It's a great atmosphere. Naughty and Nice is wrapping up. They had a big event for the past month where they had a bunch of Christmas rooms set up. It was really unique. You could come here and have breakfast with Santa over the weekends. It's a really great restaurant. Mark Baranowski and his group do a fantastic job.
Everybody can see the 9-foot Santa Claus that I have behind me.
He should be running the show, quite frankly. That guy right there.
He's a little intimidating. He's like breathing down my neck here.
Yeah,
he's right behind me.
He does. He is actually right behind you. How about that?
He's pretty. He's got some arms on him too. He's got some guns. I mean, he must be.
If you were toting around toys for billions of kids across the world,
True. And there's nothing much to do up there north of the pole, but probably hit the weights a little bit, right?
Let's just get this victory today and not have to worry about next week. That's really what the bottom line is for me personally. I don't follow John Steigerwald on social media. He has me blocked. But he was tweeting about, if you're somebody who works in the media, you should want the Steelers to lose and have the last game to mean something. No, you don't. It's ridiculous to even say that. I want my veterans to have a week off.
Right.
Right. I want them to take the week off. I want them to be rested and prepared as best as they can for whoever it is that they're going to play. They're locked into the 4 seed if they get into the playoffs. We know that. So now it just becomes a question of who the 5 seed is. Right? That's why this Bills-Eagles game is so critical, because if the Bills lose, they now become the 5 seed. Actually, they become the 6 seed because they will – no, I take that back. They become the 7 seed.
7 seed, yep.
They become the 7 seed because they are behind the Chargers, and the Texans own the tiebreaker over Buffalo.
Well, And I tell you what, Buffalo has, I mean, they've had some good wins this year, but they've struggled in some games. Hell, a few weeks ago they struggled against the Browns. I mean, it was,
Right.
it
Well,
was,
right. It's
they
it's
were
a
able to win
crapshoot
it.
almost week to week
Yeah.
on
So
how teams are performing. But like Paul said, they got Superman at quarterback.
right,
I would rather face Buffalo, to be quite honest with you.
I would too.
I'd
I would
rather
too.
have a rematch with a healthy Derek Harmon and this particular team that's playing right now, in the mindset that they have, they got a much better chance
Well, you got
in
recent
a
tape.
rematch.
You got recent tape against the Bills, right?
Right.
You don't have anything recent on the Texans. They haven't played them this year.
Right. You haven't played them this year, obviously.
Right.
No, that's
Yeah.
true. But they're just, I mean, they're the hottest team in football. Right?
And when I say tape, I mean
Maybe.
you can look at other teams that have played them. But I'm saying recent tape meaning, they recently played the Bills. Well, they played the Bills this year, and you have something to kind of go on. Okay, guys, here's what we did on this. Here's what we need to change, for next time. So
we got Dylan Green checking in via YouTube. Would every wild card team be favorites in the first round in the AFC? Absolutely not. I don't listen. Depending on who the Steelers play, right? They're a pick at best. The Steelers would be a pick at best. I can't see the league. If the Texans are the 5 seed or the Bills, who the Steelers have already beaten. I can see this. I can see the Steelers being a pick. Maybe -1. Maybe. It would be the slightest. They wouldn't. I can't see Vegas lining them at -3 against either the Bills, who they've already lost to, and the hottest team in the NFL, the Houston Texans. I think they open that line. That line might open at 1. Maybe opens at 1, but the action will dictate. And if I'm a bettor, and the Steelers are a 1-point favorite, 1.5-point favorite, 2-point favorite, I'm probably betting on the underdog. I'm happy that they've won 3 games in a row, right? It's good for business when the team's doing well. People complain and are disgruntled when they lose, but when the Steelers are winning, people are tuning in. Again, we're approaching 1,500 people watching us right now on our different social media platforms. There's just a greater interest, and this is a big game today. Obviously, you win, and the division is clinched, right? If you win, the division is clinched. But as far as all the teams in the AFC being favored in the wild card rounds, I would think let's just say it's the Patriots, Jags, and Steelers. I think the Patriots right now would be playing the Chargers. They would be slight favorites. The Jaguars would get the Texans. I think the Texans would probably. I think that game could be very much a pick 'em as well.
And just look at the Texans and what they've done. Okay, so to open up the season, you go 0-3. You lose against the Rams. You lose against the Buccaneers. You lose against the Jaguars. Then you have a gimme game against the Titans at week 5, 26-0. You beat the Ravens 44-10. That's where I really think the turning point was. You lose to the Seahawks, but then you come back and you beat the Niners. You lose a close game to the Broncos. You beat the Jaguars at what was I don't week?
They split the season series with Jacksonville, but yeah.
You have another gimme game against the Titans. You beat the Bills. You beat the Colts, and you beat the Chiefs. Chiefs were down, and you handle the Cardinals, handle the Raiders, and then you handle the Chargers last night.
Yeah, they've won 8 in a row. They've just been flexing. They've been flexing over the last 2 months here. That's the team you don't want to face. That's the team you don't want to face right now. Is Houston. So, good question from the viewer on YouTube. Thank you very much for checking in. I think you could easily have at least one road favorite. It would be very small, possibly 2, right? But I think that, again, Vegas, and just having lived there, and it was a long time ago, but having worked with odds makers, having talked to people Steelers Freak checking in from Las Vegas saying the team with the young QBs have the real pucker factor in the postseason. Vegas will bet against them in advance, most likely. I don't disagree with you. I think sharp action will always tend to favor a team facing a either rookie quarterback or somebody making their first playoff appearance because they tend to struggle.
Right.
They tend to struggle, and you're talking about Drake May. You're talking about
Bo
Nix. That's at least two off the top of my head that I can think of. You're talking about Caleb Williams. You would be talking about, if it was Carolina, you would be talking about Bryce Young in his first playoff appearance. So, so you potentially have four of those types of quarterbacks potentially coming into their first playoff game. They could easily have that bullseye on them as not having the experience, and therefore you're going to bet against them. This is Steel City Sunday, live from the North Park Lounge, Richland, and the Hilltop Event Center, brought to you also in part by Arch Masonry and Restoration. Arch has been with us since the very first broadcast, a great sponsor, a company I've worked with for over a decade. If you're a brick mason, a block mason, if you're a concrete finisher, and you are looking for work, folks, I'm going to tell you right now, Arch Masonry is looking to speak to you. If you're a laborer in construction and you're not working right now, or if you've ever thought about a career in the building trades, but you're not sure where to start, give Arch a call, 412-564-5733, or visit their website, archmasonryinc.com. They are looking to hire people. And I have worked with this company a long time. They care about their employees, great benefits program. They grow from within. There's opportunity to advance. They can teach you on the job. They have programs that will advance you and teach you how to lay brick and block or finish concrete so that you can become a professional craftsman in a building trade. Arch Masonry and Restoration, 412-564-5733, archmasonryinc.com. Alongside Bill Akins, I'm John Phillips. So happy you could be joining us here on Steel City Sunday. Over 1,500 of you right now on our different pages. Excited that the numbers continue to grow every week. It kind of just builds and builds. Taz checking in. Taz864 on YouTube. Coach T versus rookie QBs. Enough said. Perhaps. I can't tell you. Well, the last time that happened, they lost. That was the COVID game against Baker Mayfield. That was his first playoff appearance.
I think Paul made a good point. You know, they have beaten the teams that they should beat this year. You know,
they have,
and
you have to,
right?
But their record against the winning teams has not been good. The teams have won.
Correct.
That's the problem.
And I look at one major factor, and that's Aaron Rodgers, right? I mean, in recent years, we haven't had a quarterback like that you know, has the experience, and him alone just makes the offense better. We just haven't. You know?
Ben in his last season, the fact that he was able to literally will that team to the playoffs,
right,
was nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah,
right,
and
one of the single guttiest performances I've ever seen by a player to put that team on his back in the fourth quarter to get that game tied, and then the game-winning drive in overtime at Baltimore in that horrific weather. It was just, it was, the last hurrah for a great football player.
When he had that elbow injury in 2019, I don't care what anybody says, he was not himself when he came back.
It hurt.
He couldn't throw more than 20 yards. I mean, it was.
No, it was not. No, not the same guy. Absolutely not. He was not the same guy. But Taz864 checking in via YouTube. Thank you very much for reaching out with that little response. If you have a question or comment, please leave it wherever you're watching us on the different social media sites. This is Steel City Sunday. We are live 4 hours prior to every Steelers game. And so, and somebody asked earlier, what kind of programming will you do in the off season? Just so you know, I on Mondays and Tuesdays have decided to dust off my microphone, as of course, my career in broadcasting goes back to the mid 90s. And doing talk radio on Ardmore Boulevard and working with Myron Cope and Bill Hillgrove and Ed Bouchette and you name it, over at the Fan for 6 years. I do a show on Mondays and Tuesdays right here on this channel. Facebook, YouTube, and X. Mondays and Tuesdays, it's called Pittsburgh Sports Tonight. Please join me tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Monday and Tuesday, we will have live programming. Just an hour. Kind of wets my whistle and allows me to vent and chat. You're welcome to join us. Like and subscribe to our X page, to our Facebook page, to our YouTube channel. On Wednesdays and Thursdays, we also have shows. On Wednesdays at 8 o'clock, it's the Pittsburgh Sports Desk, hosted by Bill Akins and a cast of several. And then on Thursdays, Gridiron Weekly. That's a Bill Akins show as well at 8 o'clock. So we are working on more programming, and I will tell you that I have plans in place for 2026. We'll see how things play out, but we want to get to the end of the season first. Let's see if the Steelers can make a run. If they can make a run, it helps. Helps tremendously, quite frankly. We don't know what lies ahead. By 4 o'clock today, we should have a pretty good idea. I really want to see the Steelers win the coin toss today and take the ball. That's
yeah,
what
I agree.
I want to see them win the coin toss.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers versus Shador. Enough said. Yeah, well, I don't think Shador is going to be much of an he'll have much of an impact today, but we'll see. I don't think he'll have much of an impact.
Score early and often. I think,
score early and often. I agree with that. And
Yeah.
Gavin, I am cooking right now. Absolutely. And again, it's enjoyable. This show is so important to me that I wanted to do it, and I'm glad that I have put the effort in this year because again, the guests are what drive us every single week. We want the best guests we can find. That's why I pay for great guests. The people that come on this show on a regular basis are compensated to do so. And why do I do that? Because they have the knowledge and they have the ability to convey the message about what this team is doing week to week, right? Nobody works for free on this show. Some of our guests that come in here and there, they're not paid, but we do pay people here. I pay Bill. How do you like being paid for your work, by the way?
It's great. It's great. It got a little old being an intern.
And I don't do this show to make money, just in case people were wondering. I don't make any money doing this show, and I don't really care, right? I'm not concerned. I make money during my day job, right? This is more of a vanity project. It's been more of a vanity project for me, but I wanted to get back into the space of talking about the Steelers. I've been writing for the Tribune Review for the past year. It was such a pleasure to cover the Riverhounds this season. I'm back involved in sports media here in this town. And yeah, we're not on television and we're not on the radio, but you know what? You don't have to be today. That's why we've got almost 2,000 people watching us right now, right? Because we put the effort in. And, by the time we get to next year, I'm just going to keep doing content and programming, folks. We're just going to continue to keep adding shows and more content. And we're going to continue to keep doing Steelers stuff, and we're going to continue to add more things when it comes to the Penguins and the Pirates in the springtime, the NFL draft. You're going to see a lot more from us. I promise you. 2020. This was like the beta test for what's to come, right? I'm so happy to have North Park Lounge just give us the platform to do this. Like, without North Park Lounge, this show does not happen. Without Arch Masonry chipping in, the show does not happen because it allows me to pay to get people involved. And that's what professionals do in the business of media, right? I never worked for free in my career. People can say what they want about me. I was always paid. I was always paid to talk radio. I was always paid to do TV. I was always paid to write for newspapers or magazines or websites. And everybody that's on this show is paid. And that's important to me because they're professionals, like the man we're going to bring on here now as we await the arrival of John Fedko. Let's bring Jerry DePaula in a little bit early. There he is right there. He's got the hat. Isn't that a Chris Adamski? Are you stealing Chris's? How you doing, Jerry D? How you doing, sir? Jerry DePaula.
How are you?
I'm good, sir. Longtime writer for the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. Recently retired, but he's on our pregame show. Of course, he normally does postgame, but we have no postgame today because I got to drive to Dayton, Ohio after the show's done. So Jerry, kind enough to join us. We'll get John in here in just a little bit. But
wait for
Jerry,
John. Come on, John.
where are
let's
you?
go. I'm
Where,
ready for
where
it.
are you? Are you vacationing somewhere? Where are you at? Looks
No,
like you're
I'm
in the
home.
woods.
I'm in my
Are you?
on my dining room table. The
Oh,
deck is behind me.
okay.
It's just a lazy, rainy Sunday.
Yeah, it is ugly outside. It's going to be ugly across most of the NFL, across the Northeast and in the Southeast for sure. Lots of rain and ugly weather to kick off week 7. I guess this is week 17, right? Week 17 of the NFL.
Right.
Week 17 of the National Football League. Week 16 for most teams, practically everybody. Actually, now they're all, as we are in the final stretch here. Mr. DePaula, let's
Yes,
start
sir.
with last night. Let's start with last night's Ravens game. No shocker, I think. I thought the wrong team was favored with all the injuries the Packers had. They clinched the playoff berth with the Lions losing on Christmas Day. King Henry, now 10th all-time in rushing, 200-plus yards, 4 touchdowns. Baltimore made a statement last night that they're not giving up just yet.
Well, the worst part of it, John Phillips, is that I'm playing Derrick Henry in fantasy football this week for the championship, and it didn't make me happy at all that he ran for 4 touchdowns and about 1 million yards. But anyway, the Ravens. I've been thinking all season that the Ravens are a sleeping giant. I mean, they've had some injuries, they've had some things go wrong. Of course, with the quarterback. But they're still the Ravens, and they still have that persona. I think John Harbaugh is a very good coach, and it showed last night. When he went to Green Bay, Green Bay has its problems too. But it was in Green Bay, it was on the road, and Ravens, weren't playing well, but they came up big when they needed to come up big, and that's why this game today in Cleveland is, I think, a must-win for the Steelers.
Well, Jerry, I wasn't really too optimistic about the Packers beating the Ravens just by virtue of Malik Willis was going into this game with a shoulder injury. I mean, he even came out. I think he slightly dislocated it last night, but he even came out for a couple series, or one series. And plus, he was nursing he had an illness. I think he had the flu a couple days prior to this game. So you're missing Michael Parsons. I mean, it's just I didn't have a warm and fuzzy feeling that the Packers were going to be able to, take care of the Ravens and us win the AFC North. Last night, I wasn't too optimistic.
But do you think, though, that with the way that the Ravens were playing with their ground game last night, that even if Willis had been 100%, even if his shoulder was perfect and he had no illness, I think the Ravens still win that game. Maybe not as big.
Yeah.
Because the Ravens have some problems on defense. I'll grant you that. But, with the way that you run the football this time of year, that's what great teams do. That's what winning teams do, playoff teams do. And that's why the Steelers are in trouble next week if they have to, beat the Ravens to win the division.
We've got Jerry DePaula here on Steel City Sunday. We're waiting the arrival of the one, the only John Fedko in just a few minutes. The Fedko Zone later. We'll get him in here in a few minutes. John will be on in about 6-7 minutes. He'll pop in here. And what I'm basically going to do is just turn it over to Jerry and John, let them duke it out for 30 minutes.
I can't wait. I'm ready for him.
He does bring lively conversation to the table. That's for sure.
He brings the party with him. That's for sure.
He does bring the party. It has for 35 years and almost 40 years in this market, for crying out loud. It's been he is something else and a sight to behold again here in this business, what we do. All right, Jerry, let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. So critical to the success of this team this year in terms of especially the last 3 weeks. Now, the running game has been spectacular the last 3 weeks. They have been extremely good. I don't think we've talked much about the Gainwell-Warren tandem the last few weeks. Dynamic, to say the least. They've combined for almost 2,000 yards between the two of them, running and receiving. It's been quite a 1-2 punch that they have delivered on in the last few weeks, and a big reason why I think that they are on the little winning streak that they are right now.
Well, I think you have to give the Steelers front office some credit for putting Gainwell and Warren together. First of all, Warren was an undrafted free agent, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Right, he was. That's right.
Yeah.
Out of Oklahoma State.
The Steelers found him and they brought him along, and then they gave him a contract extension, which I'm sure made things a lot easier for him and maybe motivated him a little bit. Gainwell, came from the Eagles, a free agent signing. The Steelers don't do a whole lot of that, and this wasn't a big money deal at all. But the guy has played so incredibly well that he's considered possibly the second or third most valuable player on the team after Aaron Rodgers. So in Rodgers, also a free agent signing by Omar Khan. A guy that a lot of people had given up on. I thought he was too old. I didn't have anything left. Thought he opened his mouth too much. But he's been perfect for the Steelers. I just love the way the camera zeroes in on Aaron Rodgers when he's irritated. And he's irritated either at the officials or one of his teammates for running a bad route, his offensive line for not blocking well enough, or maybe Arthur Smith for not getting the play into his earpiece in time. And accountability, that's number one with Aaron Rodgers. And I think that's, other than a strong throwing arm and obviously physical talent, accountability is the number one thing a winning quarterback needs to have in the NFL.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. All right, without further ado, live from his palatial digs somewhere here in the Pittsburgh area, we welcome in Mr. John Fedko. How you doing, John?
Merry Christmas. Remember,
Happy New Year, John.
and Merry Christmas. It's the Christmas season.
It is.
Because remember, we just went through 4 weeks of Advent. So Christmas started on December 25th. You're supposed to start playing Christmas music on December 25th and continue to play it all the way through the Epiphany. And you're supposed to have your Christmas lights on and say Merry Christmas. It's the Christmas octave. It was the Feast of St. Stephen and the Feast of St. John. Today's the Feast of the Holy Innocents of the Holy Family. It's Christmas. Don't throw your Christmas tree out. It's Christmas. The stupid radio stations stop playing Christmas music when they're supposed to start playing Christmas music. Can we get this right? Thanks.
I could put you in touch with the guy at Wish 99.7. They started before
They need to be playing Christmas music. And not only that, why wasn't my church full this morning? I go to church every day. Packed on Christmas Eve, packed on, maybe semi-packed on Christmas Day. And again, nobody, what's going on? Can you wake up, America, and go to church instead of watching this stupid football game today? There's my analysis. There's my analysis of this game.
Can I just tell you, we did a midnight mass up in Wexford for the first time in a long time, John, this year.
Good for that. I love it. I used to go to midnight mass when I was a kid. Now they do it at 10. What's with this 10 p.m. stuff? It's finishing at midnight.
I did St. Maurice Church way back in the day over on Arbor Boulevard. We were there every year at midnight, and my wife was like, "Hey, we got to do it this year," so we did this year. It was
good for you, nice. John Phillips.
Absolutely.
I love the look, Jerry. Very British, like it's right out of A Christmas Carol. Hopefully, you're Bob Cratchit, not Scrooge. Although maybe the resurrected Scrooge.
I'm more Bob Cratchit than I am Scrooge, John.
I love you. I'm definitely Bob Cratchit.
My wife would vouch for that.
There you go.
Everybody's excited for John and Jerry to be on. Our chat has been on fire today. It's been spectacular. We've gotten a really nice audience. We're almost at 2,000 people watching here right now. We'll take you till about 12:30 today, folks, and then we'll start to wrap things down. But I want to let Jerry and John talk a little bit here. Let's start with Mr. Fedko. John, what do they have to do today to achieve victory? What's the key for the Steelers in your mind?
Okay, well, in this game, because remember, I'm the old guy, 65 years old, Jerry and I. That's why we're on, because we're old guys. We've seen it all. This is your typical game that Mike Tomlin loses. You can put all your things in your little Mike Tomlin computer, and he loses these games. Games you don't have to win, which he doesn't. Games that he's a prohibitive favorite on the road.
He does have to win.
Well, he does. He has to win next week.
He does have to win. Yes.
No, he doesn't. He has to win next week. He has to win next week.
You're right. But I'm talking about perception-wise and for momentum-wise. But I'm sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead.
That's okay. My dog's fired up. He agrees. My dog agrees with you. He doesn't have to win this game, so he always blows these types, especially on the road, especially in Cleveland. Listen, here's my bottom line. I'll start with this. If you're betting this game, don't. Get the bet. Do not bet this game. And I have two boys who love to bet football. Don't bet this game, Christian Connor. Do not bet this game. This is a sucker's bet. I've seen it over and over again. This is a game the Steelers could easily lose. There I go sideways again. Oh, man, you guys are killing.
Now you're upside down, John. Now you're sideways. There you go.
There you go. Okay, so number one, don't bet this game. Do not bet this game for many reasons, okay? It's a sucker's bet. So let's go over the reasons why the Steelers can easily lose this game. I've already said that Mike Tomlin's history in these type of games, he loses them. Number one. And number two, they lose in Cleveland all the time on the road without Ben Roethlisberger. Check it out, okay? You don't have Ben in Cleveland, they lose.
4 and 6 in the last 10 and lost the last 3 in Cleveland.
There you go. Okay, number three, the DJ Metcalf absence is enormous. People are not making a big deal about this, as they should. This is a gigantic loss for the Steelers. I've been on Metcalf all year. He's one of the MVPs of the team. He's the big play guy they go to at the beginning of the game, at the beginning of the half, and they don't have him. It is a huge loss for them, and it's going to take its toll today. I think this is going to be a much closer game. If I were betting it, I'd take Cleveland and the points. And listen,
3.5.
I would take Cleveland and the points on this. And now we go to the fourth one, the weather. Weather always favors the underdog. I'm telling you, I would not bet this game. I'm not predicting the Steelers are going to lose. And I think if the Steelers have to play Baltimore next week in a must-win game, my lock of the year, the Steelers will win, okay? Because the NFL wants them to win. But the NFL would love to see the Steelers lose today.
Oh, absolutely.
They love it.
Absolutely.
They love it. And you can call me a conspiracy theory, but if you don't think there's ever been a fixed game in the NFL, then you believe in the Easter Bunny and you believe a guy in a depository shot JFK with a rifle that couldn't hit the side of a barn. I'm telling you, if there's ever a fixed game, this could be it. If this game is close, watch for a crazy call to go against the Steelers, a holding, offensive pass interference, one of those stupid, idiotic, tackle too late, unnecessary roughness, nonsense penalties. Watch the NFL fix this thing, or somebody fix it with the refs so that there's a winner-take-all game on Sunday Night Football next Sunday. And I'm not kidding. NFL games are fixed, and this one has fix all over it. If it's not fixed, I don't care. I'm not betting this game. You are a sucker if you bet this game. Stay away from this game if you're a gambler. Do you hear me, Christian and Kyler? Do not bet this game. Don't bet the winner or lose. You can bet over, under, receivers catching yards, Myles Garrett getting sacks. Do not take the Steelers at -3.5. You heard it here. As a sucker bet. Then he's out in the parking lot going, "Hey man, the Steelers are. It's a gimme." It ain't a gimme.
I agree with you. I will say this, and I said this earlier in the pregame show, and I don't know if you two agree with this or not. I feel a little bit better about this version of the Steelers in a scenario like this, given how they've played against better competition the last 3 weeks. You can say what you want about the Miami Dolphins, and obviously the Lions aren't going to make the playoffs this year. But this team gives me a little bit more hope and I really want them to get the ball first, John. I want them to get the ball first because I want that offense on the field, and I want them to drive it right down their throats and put it in the end zone and establish control of the game early on. If they can establish control of the game early on and take a lead of 7 to 10 points at the halftime, I think the Browns will pack it in.
Okay, we need to let Jerry talk, but let's give me my chance to say why I think the Steelers can easily win. Shedeur Sanders is a complete, utter joke. He's the worst quarterback in the league. He's an absolute disgrace of a quarterback. That's why nobody wanted him. And the NFL may even try to fix this game, and the refs may be paid, and he still may be so bad they may lose. And I'm not kidding you. So the Steelers have a gigantic advantage at quarterback. Aaron Rodgers over Shedeur Sanders is like a ridiculous gap, okay? So that is a huge thing in the Steelers' favor. So I just wanted to say that I would not bet this game. But if I had to put my life on it, I don't think Shedeur Sanders can beat the Steelers. I don't care if the game's fixed. I don't think he can beat them. So I would like the Steelers in this game. If Baltimore would have lost last night, this would be a mortal lock. The Steelers would win this game by 25 points. But I'm telling you, the NFL does not want the Steelers to win today. Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, I agree with you, John, that the Steelers are no lock today, and I think they could very easily lose. But I think Shadir Sanders is a quarterback who I think has some potential, but I don't think he's ready yet. And I think the Steelers can put a lot of pressure on him. No T.J. Watt today, but Herbig is back, and that's huge for the Steelers. And I really believe that the problem on offense is going to be the wide receiver. The Steelers have nobody that can back up adequately DJ. And if Metcalf can't play, who's going to be the wide receiver who's going to catch all the passes? Yeah, maybe Gainwell and Warren can help. And maybe the tight ends can slip in
maybe.
there.
Yeah, Washington.
But if you can't block Myles Garrett, and there's been a lot of talk about the Steelers offensive line getting better, but if you can't block Myles Garrett, it doesn't matter how bad Sanders is. This could be a game that the Steelers lose 13-10.
Do you know how many players had a catch last week against the Detroit Lions for the Steelers?
But 7 or 8, right?
9.
9. That's what I thought. Yeah,
they had 9. They're spreading it around. Aaron's spreading it around. I don't.
The Browns have a decent defense.
Right? No, they do. They do. They're going to need everybody today. Look. I think Cleveland will give everything they can in the first 30 minutes, and then we'll see at halftime where this game is. Right? If it's a tight game, it's going to be a tight game to the very end. But if the Steelers can come out and get a tempo and get a lead and keep it that way heading into halftime, I think the Browns will quit after the second half. Go ahead, John.
I just want to say, if the game's close, the Browns will win. There will be. I'm not kidding. There'll be some crazy call. There'll be some holding that'll call a play back. There'll be something idiotic that you will, in your gut, will say this game's fixed. And then the guy will say, nothing's ever fixed, and you'll go, yeah, this game. Something crazy is going to happen in this game in favor of the Browns. If it's close at the wire, if it's like 10-point Steelers going into the fourth, they'll just let it go.
So I got a question for you. You and I are veterans of the media, and we root for the story. We don't root for the team. Now, the fans, of course, root for the team to win.
Of course.
I understand that. But watching this game today, I'm thinking next week, if the Steelers lose and you play Baltimore at Acrisure Stadium on the first time of the new year, what great theater that's going to be. That's the kind of thing you want to go cover, the kind of thing you want to write about, the kind of thing you want to talk about. The fans, of course, they want the Steelers to win 43-0 today, which would be boring, and I could go take a nap halfway through the game. But I'm rooting for a close game today that goes on to the wire. And if the Steelers happen to lose, well, then the next Sunday is going to be great because there's no wild card coming from the division this year. Right now with the way things are, if the loser between the Ravens and the Steelers will stay home. And what a disaster that would be for the Steelers after they've been playing so well the last month. If all of a sudden they lose to Cleveland and lose to Baltimore and they're home for the playoffs, that would have the fans really up in arms more than they were before.
Well, no Metcalf and no T.J. Watt, who apparently Watt is on the field, but I mean he's already been ruled inactive and out.
Right, he's not playing.
Yeah, of course. So you got like 2 of the top 5 players on the team out of this game in a venue where the Steelers can't win on the road. In a situation where Tomlin loses all the time. I mean, I'm telling you, this is. I just wouldn't bet this game. But the big difference is Aaron Rodgers. I mean, this isn't this isn't some of these other quarterbacks who have tried to fill in for Ben. Rodgers can win this type of game. It's going to be bad conditions, but Rodgers can play well in bad conditions. But like you said, Jerry, who's he throwing to? I guess Gainwell in Washington. He's got some weapons.
How about your tight end Washington? Maybe Washington has a big game today.
I probably does. And Freiermuth. I mean, that's who he's going to go to. But I don't know how bad the rain is out there.
Thielen, look, I know that Thielen got picked off the scrap heap. Same thing with MBS, but they're getting a couple catches here and there.
Sure.
Help this team, and I'll take Thielen one-on-one with somebody. I'll take MVS one-on-one with somebody because they've got a quarterback that can get them the football.
Yeah, but like Jerry said, with Myles Garrett, I mean, he's got to have the time to throw, man. He's got to have the time to throw, and that's why there's going to be a lot of dump offs to Gainwell because they're not going to take shots with that guy who's one of the great defensive players in the league.
That's your bet today, John Phillips. Gainwell yards receiving over, right?
I like that. I'm sure. I like that bet, Jerry. That's a good bet. That's a really good bet.
I like Rodgers under 25 pass attempts too. That's critical today. Like if they run the ball extremely well, or even if Aaron's good in the short passing game and they can get yardage, Like, again, get a lead at halftime. This team will quit. They will quit.
They will
You get
quit.
up-
They
you
will
get up
quit.
10
You're right.
You
They
get up
will,
10
John.
You
They'll
get up
quit.
double digits by halftime. They're
They'll
not going to
quit.
come out in the second half with any kind
If
of
they're
fire.
up double digits at halftime, Johnny, game's over.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's over.
And
It's
you don't
flat
want
out over.
Rodgers. Yeah, you don't
agree
want
with that.
Rodgers.
Yeah.
You don't want Rodgers throwing the ball 35 times because that means you got to deal with Myles Garrett 35 times trying to break his neck, right? So
Yeah.
you get Caleb Johnson some rushing attempts. You get in a lead by halftime that's double digits.
All
You
right.
can control the second half by just running the
Wait,
play.
Johnson plays next week in a
which
meaningless
here-
game, right?
Which
Not
here's
today.
my prediction. I'll give you two predictions because, hey, that's what you pay us to do to go out on a limb. So here's two predictions. I like the Browns in the points. If I was betting the game, I'd take Browns in points. However, here's what I'll say. If the Steelers are up by 10 going into the fourth quarter, the Steelers will win. If the game is within 7 going into the fourth quarter, the Browns will win the game. That's
So you're
my
saying
prediction.
Shadir Sanders is going to lead into a victory?
I'm saying
in the
the
fourth
refs.
quarter?
I'm saying the refs or something crazy is going to happen. I
don't think games
if
are
you don't
fixed,
think
John.
NFL games are fixed,
No, I don't believe
I
that.
think I think somebody in that refereeing crew was paid last week in Detroit. That Detroit game was a disgrace. We didn't do a post game, but that refereeing in that Detroit game was an absolute.
That was the right call, John.
disgrace.
That was the right call. It was offensive
I'm
pass
not talking
interference.
about the offensive pass. I'm talking about the whole game. Every single call went against the Lions. And I look. I'm just trying to be. I like the Steelers win. I love this town. My kids love the Steelers. That was ridiculous.
Why
And I'm
would
not
the
saying
NFL want the Lions to win that game? Because they were playing a marquee game on Christmas Day that a lot of people were going to watch. It was watered down because they lost to the Steelers.
Listen. I know I'm not saying the NFL fixes games, but it's all about gambling now. And when it's all about gambling, man, you get Vinny and his brother involved in the big time. I'm serious. There's no question. Don't tell me that refs haven't been paid in this game since gambling's taken over the NFL because you're believing the Easter Bunny if you don't think that's happened. And so I'm just saying, watch for something crazy to happen in this game if it's close. If it's not close, the Steelers will just – and I'm saying 10 points. That's
I
my
resent your
10
reference,
going to
John.
the fourth, it's over. If the Browns are within, I'm going to say 7 going into the fourth. The Browns will win this game. There's my prediction.
I resent your reference to Vinny. I have a good friend named Vinny who goes to church every Sunday, and he doesn't bet football at all. But I can understand why people feel that way. But I really think that these guys make too much money. Even the officials make too much money to risk losing that money to throw a game for whatever reason. I
disagree with it, Jerry. Somebody can easily pay one of these refs $1 million. That's a drop in the bucket for the mob. Easy. If they make a $10 million bet, listen. There's no doubt that there's something in all now that all these gambling people these gambling conglomerates are involved in professional sports. You'd have to be crazy to think that games aren't being fixed. I'm not saying they all are. I'm not saying one a week is, but there's definitely games that are fixed and refs that are being paid off. There isn't a doubt in my mind. I'm not an idiot. But I'm not saying it's going to happen today. Just watch out for it. When your gut says something's wrong, like last week when you're watching that game, you're going, okay, this is getting ridiculous. Every single call's going against Detroit. I'm not saying the NFL wanted Detroit to lose. I agree with you, Jerry. I don't think the NFL wanted Detroit to lose. But something weird was going on in that game. There was something bizarre about that officiating. Every single little call went against the line. Every single one. I don't know. I'm just saying the obvious that most people won't talk about. That's why Johnny pays us the big bucks, to go where nowhere else will go. And I'm not saying it's going to happen today, but I am saying keep your eye open for a crazy call if the game's close.
But there's a difference between bad officiating and officials who are on the take.
Correct.
I think they're just bad.
You're right.
I think they're bad
No, you're right.
officials, and it looks like maybe they're on the take.
That's the voice of reason.
Maybe I'm not
You're right.
about things like that. But
You are right.
I just can't believe there's too much money for these guys we make week after week, year after year, for them to risk that over whether the Lions and the Steelers.
That is the voice of reason. And Jerry, that is a great point. And so now we go to the next point and how horrific the officiating is, because it is really bad in the NFL. You are right.
I want to address officiating, but Jerry, I also want to say, do you remember Alex Karras?
Absolutely.
Do you remember Paul Horning?
Blazing Saddles, yeah.
The Black Sox scandal. The CCNY point shaving players. It doesn't look what's going on in the NBA. Look what happened in the NBA in October.
Definitely happens in the NBA.
Coach,
Definitely happens in the NBA.
These plays doesn't matter. The contracts don't matter. It's the ego and the thrill, right? It's the edge of being involved in something shady that they can get away with and have some cash.
And John and Jerry, I'm not saying this every week. Maybe it's 3 games a year. Maybe it's like 3. You know what? It's not. I don't want to go like every game's big. That's not. And the NFL doesn't rig games to we want this. That doesn't happen. But money talks, man. One or 2 games, 3 games a year. Yeah. There's no question or something. It's just when you get gambling, and the mob involved in the NFL, and trust me, now that gambling is so big in the NFL, the mob is absolutely involved in the NFL in some games.
But there's been so many stories out there of games being fixed in the NBA and elsewhere. Not in the NFL.
NBA for sure.
There's been nothing in the NFL that I can remember of an official or a player throwing a game. It just hasn't happened. It hasn't been reported on anyway.
They just haven't found it out yet. But okay, I know we're talking about something crazy. But the bottom line is this. I wouldn't bet the game only because of Mike Tomlin's record on the road in Cleveland in games like this. Let's go back to the not the conspiracy stuff, but the actual stuff. And you don't have Metcalf and you don't have Watt. I just would not take the Steelers and lay 3.5. I would not. That is a bad bet.
I agree. I'm not a betting guy, but I think the Steelers are going to win today, and I think maybe even handily.
Jerry, I know I've seen you down at the counter at the Rivers and at the Bet Rivers, and I know I've seen
Nothing
you.
wrong with that.
By the way, quick shout out. By the way, quick shout out to Cody in Texas, who's working on a drilling rig right now, listening to our pregame show.
Love Texas.
People are just chiming in, wanting to hear John say the Fedco zone. I mean, it's chaos.
That's right,
It's chaos. It's absolute chaos with me.
It's chaos in our chat today. We've got such a big chat. We're approaching 2,000 people watching on the pregame show right now. So we're pretty happy that things are moving along here. Another 10 minutes or so with John Fedco and, of course, Jerry DePaula, Steel City Sunday rolling on. John, you wanted to say something, sir?
No, I mean,
Okay.
I told you where I'm at. I think the Browns. I'm not going to be surprised at all if the Browns win this game. And John, I've come on this show before, for those who haven't seen it, and I've said, hey, this is a lock. Steelers going to win this game. Or I've been pretty good. I wish I would have kept my record on what I'm like. This is one. I'm not predicting the Browns are going to win. I'm just I do not feel good about the Steelers today. I just don't. I feel real. And I've already said, even if Metcalf and Watt are not playing next week, which I don't think either will, I love the Steelers against Baltimore at home. I love them to win next week. Love it.
If the Steelers lose today, who wins next week?
Well, I just said the Steelers lock. Steelers will win the division. They will beat Baltimore at home.
Yeah, I disagree with that because if the Steelers lose today, it's a bad. The momentum is gone. Baltimore's coming in with
I
huge
think Lamar
momentum.
Jackson is hurt, and when he's hurt, he's not a great quarterback.
Derrick Henry's not hurt.
I know they played good last night, but I love the Steelers at home. We're talking about next week. But if the Steelers lose today, which I think is a good, I think there's a 55% chance Steelers will lose today. The Steelers
mojo if they lose today.
What's that?
They lose all their momentum, all their mojo, all their good feeling. It goes away, and Baltimore's coming in with a bunch of momentum.
I don't know if they're coming with a bunch of momentum. They won a game last night, but they've kind of blown it down the stretch. In the games here in Pittsburgh, the crowd. Listen, shout out to the Steelers fans. The Steelers fans will be insane next week. That'll be an insane environment. It'll be a Sunday night game. It'll be crazy. The crowd will be a factor. Jackson's hurt. I love the Steelers next week. I don't like them today.
Yeah, I got Baltimore next week. If
I don't. Well, then we got to be on pregame, John, because we'll duke it out. Because I already love it. I'm saying now. Listen, if Gainwell goes down or Rodgers goes down, so I'm gonna. Who knows?
Rodgers goes down. There you go. Absolutely
you
not.
You can't lose those two guys. You cannot. Those are two now indispensables. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And if those two guys are healthy, they're not going to have Metcalf next week. He lost his appeal. They're not going to have Watt. I don't think he's coming back next week. They're saving for the playoffs.
Right.
They'll win next week.
Yeah, Watt's just take it off. Wait, come back next August.
These are the games Tomlin loses. Just look at the history. Now, listen.
I don't disagree with that.
He does lose them.
These are classic scenarios where he goes on the road. He's a favorite. This is a sub 500 team, and they lay an egg. They lay an egg.
Yeah, and they don't have to win it as much as Garrett. They do not have to win this game. This is not a must-win game.
This is a must-win. It's a must-win today.
But they don't, Jerry, because they can win next week, and nothing changes.
But they won't win next week. I really believe that the Baltimore.
You think if they lose today, they're losing next week? Mark that down, baby.
Yeah, that's my prediction.
But
I predict them to win today.
We're completely disagreeing. I think if they lose today, it's a mortal lock. They win next week.
Oh,
that's just my opinion. They just don't play well in that. They don't play well in Cleveland. There's something about that place. They do not play well there.
They haven't played well recently. And that goes back to the last few. Right, well, they have not won since Ben, and even in the Ben's last few years, they went up there and struggled. Now Ben was at the end of his career; he was injury riddled. They were not a good football team. But recently, in the last 10 years, I think you said the stat is 4-6 on the road in Cleveland.
4-6, and they've lost the last 3.
Yeah, and last 3 they've lost
3.
So there's that to be said. But I really do believe, John, that this team's a little bit different right now because of Aaron Rodgers and his leadership.
Yep.
I feel better, and I've said this throughout the pregame, I feel better about this spot, despite it being a classic Tomlin letdown, about them going in there and handling business today.
Yeah, I'm not picking the Browns to win. I mean, if you're going to tell me who's win, I think it's Steelers. I think I'll go back on my let's get all the fixed stuff out. As I said, if the Steelers are down, I'm going to go back. Because if I said the Steelers are down, if the Steelers are only up by 7 going to the 4th, they're going to lose. Well, I think the Steelers are going to win this game 20-19. They're going to they're going to win because Shedeur Sanders is so horrific. I cannot imagine any scenario, even with the refs or the game fixed, of him winning. So he'll do something stupid at the end or something crazy will happen where actually the Steelers win. So I'm picking the Steelers to win 2019. I like the Browns and the points, Steelers to win. What do you got, Jerry?
18-10 Steelers with 6 Chris Boswell field goals.
Well, it's going to be bad conditions, but you're probably right. Remember, he's the one thing about Boswell is he's shown he's human now. He's missed a couple.
Yeah, I know.
He should have made. That's kind of scary. That's kind of scary.
But
all right.
But I really think that the Browns, with Myles Garrett, he's going to come up with 3 sacks.
Oh yeah. No, it's going to be close. This game will. I do not see a blowout here. I just don't see a blowout. I don't see it.
Only if it gets to halftime and then the Browns completely shut it down. You know what my Christmas gift is to each of you? I'm letting you guys
wait to hear this.
I'm letting you guys go a little early because I got to drive to Dayton, Ohio.
Okay. Well, I'm really hoping the Browns win this game only because Jerry and I could duke it out next week because I'm telling you right now the Steelers will beat the Ravens. It's a mortal lock. And Jerry's got the Ravens. So we got everybody needs to tune in next week for the big showdown.
And if the Steelers win today, next week is meaningless. It's going to be boring. Yeah, we don't want that.
Which means if it's meaningless, you both be on the pregame show next week because nobody's going to want to tune into the postgame show.
But we still get paid, right?
Well, we'll be able to talk about can Mike Tomlin ever win a playoff game in the history of his life? And it looks like he's got Buffalo coming in here, so we can deal with that one next week.
Never ask if you're getting paid, gentlemen. Just talk to your wives and know that it's happening.
Okay. Every Friday.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, Jerry.
Merry Christmas, John and
Merry
John.
Christmas, Jerry.
Merry Christmas,
everybody, and Happy New Year. Have a great week. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the beautiful day out today.
All right,
excellent. All right, Jerry DePaula, John Fedko, absolute bedlam in the chat right now. And almost 2,000 of you. We're creeping so close to 2,000. I almost want to stay on the air till 1 o'clock just to see if we get to the number. Thanks, John, for joining us. Jerry as well. I'm John Phillips. This is Steel City Sunday. If you're still tuning in right now, thank you for hanging out with us. We're at the North Park Lounge, Richland Hilltop Event Center, right on Route 8 in Gibsonia. Chat. Hottest chat we've had since we started. Wouldn't you agree? Hit the like button. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit that button. Subscribe to the channel, please. Give us a follow. Let some people know about us. Really, look, this team keeps winning. Excitement galore. We're able to bring you these shows because we think there's an interest there. There's literally 3 pregame shows in Pittsburgh that cover the Steelers. We're the 3rd. And I am hell-bent on establishing our presence in this market with good people every single week. And next year this has just been the icing the tip of the iceberg for us as far as I'm concerned. On social media, you can follow us. Go to our YouTube channel. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. I appreciate that. And I know a bunch of you are checking in right now in the chat. I want to get to all of your comments before we get off the air here. YouTube, at Steel City Sunday. All the social media sites, at Steel City Sunday. Give us a follow. We've had like 5 or 6 new followers. I know that doesn't sound like much, but I'm telling you, we're just so thrilled that people are finding us and they're hanging out. And you got Dylan Green saying we're playing against a JV quarterback. You got Taz864 saying Miles gets nothing today and likes it. Cody Silva says Mike Tomlin would lose this game. I agree with that, but I feel like the players need to step up because they let him down at the same time. Cody, I've said this earlier in a pregame show. If you're just joining us now, I think that loss against Buffalo and the post game where, and Bill, you can come in here and chime in if you want, when Aaron Rodgers was basically calling out Jonnu Smith, among others, he said they didn't have a good week of practice. He didn't, he felt off. He takes responsibility. That was I think the turning point, because whatever happened after that, I think Rodgers, maybe Cam, who knows, they just got together and said, look, they were booing Renegade. There were chants of fire Tomlin. Right, Tomlin was asked the question after the game and in the press conference Tuesday about all of it. The team rallied around him. And I don't think that team is going to take a powder today. I think they show up today, and I think they get it done.
I think they needed a guy like Rodgers, obviously the voice in the locker room, the storied veteran, to say those things, because I think it lit a fire under a lot of these guys' ass, and they're like, okay, we've got to change here, or we're going to let this thing go south really quick. And I agree. That was the turning point. Definitely. I agree with that. Yeah. I mean, he just, he did point out some of the deficiencies in the other, teammates and things like that. But he also took responsibility, which is the mark of a leader and a true leader.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been great. And as I said, I'd sign up for another year. We're going to have to see how things play out. Okay. We'll have to see how things play out. Win today makes things a lot easier. And again, I'm not of the mindset that we want to have a meaningful game, and you don't. You want to have a week off to prepare for whoever it is you're going to face, because you're either the 4 seed or your vacation starts in 7 days. You're either the 4 seed facing the 5 seed, and you have time to prepare based on watching what others do while you're trying to nurse injuries, and you hopefully get TJ Watt back, right? You hopefully have him back. You have DK Metcalf back at that point in time. And you're a fully functioning team that even if they were to win today, and it doesn't matter what next week happens, you're taking that into a playoff game. And again, it's either going to be Buffalo most likely or Houston. It'll be one of the two.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of the two. I can't see the Chargers getting out of the 7 seed right now. I can't see it happening.
Not after what we saw last night.
Yeah, not after last night. Certainly not. And we're going to hang out for a few more minutes. I do appreciate all of you in the chat talking to us. We are new. If you're like, I can't believe I didn't find this channel. I see some of you in there talking about, hey, we're new. It's a new show. We just started this year. We've got a lot of programming in store for you. We do shows 4 nights a week here on the channel. Mondays and Tuesdays at 7 o'clock. I host Pittsburgh Sports Tonight, dusting off my old chops from radio days of hosting shows here in Pittsburgh. Mondays and Tuesdays at 7 o'clock, Pittsburgh Sports Tonight. I'll be on the air tomorrow night at 7 and Tuesday night live programming. And then after the first of the year, on Wednesdays and Thursdays, brand new programming from Bill Akins. Bill hosts a show on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock called the Pittsburgh Sports Desk. And then on Thursday nights, he's got the Gridiron Weekly Show. And we've got more content and programming coming in 2026. It helps when people like yourself are involved, when you're chatting us up, when you're liking, subscribing, hitting the follow buttons. really means a great deal. We're just getting warmed up. I think we've got a lot of room to grow and a lot of opportunity for us to continue to with some new programming. I had a nice conversation this week with somebody. If I said his name, you would absolutely know who it is. I want to build. I should have done this 10, 11 years ago. When Andrew Filipponi told me to do this in 2014, I shrugged it off. Big mistake on my part. But at 56, I don't care. I'm doing it. I'm doing it now, and we're gonna make this work. We hope that people like yourself continue to tune in, and we can't thank you enough. Quick thanks to Arch Masonry and Restoration, one of our great sponsors. They've been with us since week one, much like North Park Lounge, Richland, and the Hilltop Event Center. If you're a brick mason or block mason in the Pittsburgh area, if you finish concrete, if you're not working, Arch is, and they're looking for you. 412-564-5733, archmasonryinc.com. They hire laborers, inexperienced, no experience, no problem. They have programs that can help you get into a building trade. They train you on the job. Arch Masonry and Restoration, I've been working with them for over a decade. They care about their employees, competitive wages, great benefits program. Check them out, archmasonryinc.com. All right, final thoughts, Bill Akins. What do you have to say about today's game? Who is going to win and why?
Well, I think the Steelers are going to win. My biggest concern, I guess, is the weather. I mean, number one, I think it's going to be pretty nasty. We're going to have a lot of rain and wind. But listen, I think the Steelers are going to win. My biggest concern is, these Jim Schwartz defenses fare pretty well against the Steelers, and I want to see Rodgers upright. I want to see the offensive line continue to do a great job. And they've done, in recent weeks, they've been tremendous in protecting Rodgers. I want to see that happen because Jim Schwartz defenses have a tendency, he emphasizes his secondary being able to cover longer so the rushers can get home, and so the pass rushers have time to get home. I don't want to see that today. I want to see them be able to, neutralize the pass rush. Myles Garrett's going to be playing like a guy with his hair on fire. He's one sack away from getting a record.
Right. Yeah.
And people say, well, he wants to win the game as well. Yeah, he wants to win the game as well, but he's focused on getting that record. Let's make no mistake about it. So, but yeah, I think the Steelers win today. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I'm looking at I'm going to go with 17-10 Steelers.
I say Steelers 20, Browns 6. I think the defense today has their best. Look, again, terrible opponent, right? They've beaten the terrible opponents all season long. I don't think they're going to give up much rushing yardage. I think Shedeur Sanders throws at least 2 interceptions today, if not 3. I think the Steelers run and pass with Gainwell and Warren effectively. I don't think Rodgers throws the ball more than 25 times today. I think the Steelers win this one comfortably 20-6. That's going to wrap up our pregame show, folks. Can't thank you enough. We had a really nice show today. All of you guys in the chat, thank you so much on YouTube. For just checking in, everybody on Facebook and all the different platforms where you might be watching, whether it was on Paul's X page. I know Paul has been a mensch to put us on his page to boost some viewership. Again, folks, at Steel City Sunday on all the social media sites. Please, if you're on X right now, take 30 seconds and go to YouTube and find us on YouTube at Steel City Sunday. I can't thank you enough for those of you that have already subscribed today. We picked up some subscribers on YouTube. If you're on X right now, if you can get to our X page at Steel City Sunday, there is a link to our YouTube channel on our X page at Steel City Sunday. So if you're watching on Paul's channel or on Paul's X page, please come on over to ours. Follow us on X, and then give us a follow on YouTube. Give us a follow on. We just picked up 4 more subscribers just like that. Thank you so much. I want to get to 100 so bad, I can taste it. Right? We've been working so hard to get the word out. It means a great deal. I can't even describe it to you. And as I said earlier, you know, I pay these guys to work for us. All right. I don't say this. I don't say this flippantly, or this is not me bragging. This is my ball. I put this together for a reason. Because I've worked in sports media off and on for 30 years here in this market. I'm a native Pittsburgher. I moved away for a while. I came back. I wanted a place back in this line of work, and I've carved out a space. I write for the Tribune Review and their sports team. I cover the Riverhounds for them. I write features for them. But I wanted to be back in the business of covering and talking about the Steelers, and that's why I created this show. That's why I pay people like John Fedko and Jerry DePaula and Paul Zeiss, and I pay Bill Akins to produce the show for us. That's why I go out and find advertisers to help cover all of that. But if you can help us by just liking and subscribing and just giving us a follow, especially on our YouTube channel and our X page, please, it makes such a big difference for us to get into year 2, because once the season's over, I'm going to find a way to be prepared for April. We are already doing more shows. I'm already doing an hour a night. I've got plans, folks. I'm working on some things. But it helps when you can subscribe and follow us. It means a tremendous amount. All of you that have been in the chat today, hire me. Tommy wants a job. Send your resume in, Tommy, and we'll take a look at it. It's not an easy business to be in. A lot easier than it used to be. When I got into this business 30 years ago, there were a couple of radio stations, a couple of TV stations, and a couple of newspapers. Now, anybody that has one of these can start their own channel. That's the great thing about social media. I know there's a lot of knocks against social media, but we've been able to prove that if you put something out there and you provide a good product and you entertain people, somebody said earlier, John making jokes. Yeah, I make jokes. Of course I do. I don't take myself too seriously, but serious enough to put a kick-ass show together like we have all season long. It's been a blast. It's been a blast to be able to work with people that I have worked with throughout the course of my career. I used to work with John Fedko at Channel 11. I used to work with Paul Zeiss at 93.7 The Fan. I used to work with Jerry DePaula covering high school football games on Clear Channel Radio many, many years ago. Zig Fracassi and I over 30 years ago in Las Vegas, Nevada, working together. So I've got relationships with all these people. I have relationships with all these people, and that's why we've been able to pull this off this year, and it's just going to continue. We're going to be back next year 100%. Can't thank you guys enough for being involved. No post-game show today. We will return tomorrow night with Steel City, with Pittsburgh Sports Tonight. We'll recap everything tomorrow, and then, of course, next Sunday to be determined in terms of when we will be on the air. We got to see how the Steelers do today. I think if they win today and win the division, Sunday's game is a 1:00 kick. That's just my opinion. We'll have no value being in the 4:25 window for the NFL, let alone the 8:00 slot. I already think that one will probably go to San Francisco and
It's
Seattle.
a formality game.
Yeah, I do. I think so. Yeah, I think it's a 1:00 kick. Most likely we'll have a 4-hour pregame next Sunday back here at North Park Lounge. Let's see if John weren't Joe, my good Lord. Thank you, Karen. That's very kind of you. Tommy, appreciate it. All of you in the chat that have been talking, Cody, all of you, thank you so much for all of your comments. We will talk to you tomorrow at 7:00 on Pittsburgh Sports Tonight. Again, please go follow us on our YouTube channel. Help us get to 100 over there, please. If you're on X, please go to our X page and follow us over there. Help us get some more viewership over there. We can't thank you folks enough. I'm John Phillips. Go Steelers. You've been watching Steel City Sunday here on X, Facebook, and YouTube. We'll talk to you tomorrow night at 7.